Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Didn't have to update. Sorry? It didn't have to update.
A lot of updating going on. Thank you.
I am.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yep.
Don?
Yes.
We'll call this meeting to order at 9:03, please. If you will stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call. Heidi?
Goss here, Bennett here, Glenn
Here.
Valmuth
Here.
Pop.
Here. Any adjustments to the agenda today?
I have two.
Okay.
If you notice that every one of your places, I handed out the January and the February treasurer's report. Apologize that I didn't get it to you earlier, Ron, but I'd like to add that to the consent calendar under receive and file. And because I'm providing it to you at the board, I would still like to have it added electronically. In April, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would add it as correspondence because it's not part of the consent calendar.
Sure, then let's
Is
add
that
it
okay
as
with you?
correspondence. Yes,
Okay.
that's fine with me. And the second one is, I'd like to add under new business number 7, ZA extension month to month.
Okay.
I'd like to add one.
Okay.
The planning commission appointment is at the end of the packet. The individual is here now. She has an appointment later in the day. If we could move her up, please.
And so typically, I think we move them up just behind public comment. So is that good with the board?
Good by me.
I'm good with it.
Sure.
No problem.
Okay, so we will move, let's see, that is, new business number 5. Any other changes?
The .gov scheduling a date.
Oh, that
for
came
the-
in afterwards. didn't it?
Yeah, I would suggest, since we've been addressing the issue, maybe we move it to unfinished business number 3. It is trying to pick a date.
Okay. What else we got? Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
Motion made, seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Valmuth,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes,
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Gosh, yes.
Conflicts of interest this morning. And any public comment? How many people do we have in Zoom?
You have 1, 2, 3.
So anyone out in Zoom land, if you would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand function and we'll call on you when the time comes. Anyone here in Township Hall wishing to make a public comment, please make your way to the podium and do so. Seeing no movement here in Township Hall, do we have anyone on Zoom wishing to make? Okay, and just, hello, Connie.
Good morning, Connie Highmore. It seems that each time the people investigate an issue happening in Whitewater Township, more errors are uncovered. We send emails to pass on the information to the township in hopes that the errors will be addressed. There's no better time than now to do better. Let's work together to fix what's broken in Whitewater Township. Have a good meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else on Zoom wishing to make a public comment? Somebody's got their mic on out there.
Yeah. I see.
So I'm gonna mute them. Interesting.
Yeah, nobody's got it.
Okay.
I must have heard you.
No, it's that person right there.
This unknown person?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so end of public comment. That brings us to new business number 5. Denise, why don't you make your way to the podium, please? Anybody have questions for Denise?
I do, but we need a motion.
Denise, I want to thank you for all of your work on the Resident Outreach Committee.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to confirm the recommendation of the supervisor appointing Denise Peltonen to a partial 3-year term position on the Whitewater Township Planning Commission. The term shall end December 31st, 2024.
I'll second. Made and seconded. Further discussion?
I have some questions. Are you a member formally or informally of the group Keep Whitewater Township Rural?
I'm not sure. Informally, maybe, I don't know.
Have you attended any of their meetings?
Yes,
Do you hold any position within that group,
no,
secretary, treasurer? Okay, have you donated funds to that group?
no,
Have you donated funds before the group started to defray the costs of their lawsuit against the township?
let me, I question Keep Whitewater Rural title because that's a group, but there's also a candidate search group that is comprised of some of the same people, so we don't, I may be part of one group that's part of another group. I'm not sure what is your the goal of your questioning. That's kind of what I'm curious about.
I only have one other question. And that is, have you provided any in-kind, do you know what that is? Like
Barter.
free in-kind services to the group Keep Whitewater Township Rural in furtherance of their activities?
No,
research, stuffing envelopes, running errands?
no.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
And I just have one question. It's in regards to property sizes. Are you in favor of large portion property sizes, such as the 5 acre or larger 20 acre? Are you a proponent for that?
I have my opinion, but as a planning commissioner, my role is to listen to all of the opinions and comments of the community and go forward with what they want. So
But I'm asking you your opinion,
it,
not a planning commissioner. I'm asking.
oh,
your
I was my
opinion.
point. There is a desire by the community to have a rural character. And there are ways to achieve that. And I hope that several people may bring those forward and some of them will come from the farmers. I'm hoping that that will happen.
So you're saying, yes, you are.
I as a landowner, farmer, I cannot see why I would want to sell any portion of my land, which is part of my assets to create income. It's kind of self-defeating, but other people may have to. That is their decision.
Okay. And you said that, that you would, as a planning commissioner, listen to what other people have to say. But does that also mean that you're not going to push your own views?
Yes, that does mean that. I am one person in the community. I'm not, and I'm on a 7-person board. We all take in information and react or act on that. I am welcome diverse opinions and comments from the community. That's just by my nature.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
I have a couple. Denise, when you signed up to be on the ROS, were you just comfortable there? What what made your decision to step up and sit on the planning commission? What made your decision?
From the first portion of your comment was about the ROS. My initial goal was just to get things moving and the first step was the survey. There was about 2.5 weeks to get it started and finished and put in the summer newsletter. So it was something that people just had to step up to the plate and do and get it done. And I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to get things done. That's one of my motivations, my main ones. So,
Okay, so you got on that committee. Was there anything that said, oh, I like this, I'll move,
but,
why do you want to keep going? Why do you want to go further up?
Okay.
Is basically what I'm asking.
excuse me. Yes, on just stepping up to the planning commission, there's a momentum going and I want to keep that momentum going. And at the end of the year, there might be another person that wants to serve the community. I would welcome that person to come on to the planning commission. I add diversity and more thought and comment. But right now it's just keeping the momentum going, finishing the master plan and moving on into the public comment time of 63 days, I believe. And then the board approval, and then hopefully moving on to any zoning ordinances that follow that.
My last question is, have you read the master plan?
I have read the first 5 chapters that are on the township website, and the rest of it will be coming out probably sometime near the end of this month in time for the April meeting.
That's all I have.
Don?
I really don't have a question. I would just like to make a statement that over the last couple of years, I've certainly had the opportunity to watch you participate in subcommittees on projects. And I can say that I've never seen you force a personal opinion on anyone. I think you do thorough research and I think you present the material and the facts as they are. And working as part of a team. I've seen you collaborate and not necessarily trying to take that over and drive that. And I think that's a great quality. Thank you.
Thank you for that compliment. And I am willing to serve. So thank you for your consideration.
So we should then have a roll call vote.
Goss, no. Valmuth,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
This is a tough one for me. I'm gonna vote yes, but I'm gonna be watching.
Motion passes. So we will then rejoin our normal agenda already in progress. I don't see anyone from the Board of Commissioners here. So Brandon, that would bring you up next, sir.
Morning,
Morning.
Brandon Flynn, Whitewater Township Fire Chief. So February was a business as usual month, thank goodness. The highlight was Chief or Supervisor Pop and I went to the 2% grant media event on February 2nd, where the fire department received a check for $16,548, which was pretty cool. And we've talked about it before the last couple of months. And this money goes towards 4 sets of structural firefighting turnout gear, which really helped us out because that total came to almost $19,000 for the 4 sets. So there is a little bit of there's a little bit of money that the township will be responsible for, but the majority of it is paid for by the 2% grant. And as we know, that the structural firefighting gear expires in 10 years. So every 10 years, we have to replace the structural firefighting gear. And that's NFPA defines that as the ensemble, which includes the helmet, the gloves, the pants, coats, boots, anything you would wear inside of a structure fire. So all of that stuff throughout the 10 years, we kind of just, I grab a section like gloves. Last year we did gloves, and we've done boots before when I first got here. So I try to spread it out over the 10-year term, so we're not hit all of a sudden. But this year was unusual, where we had to replace 4 sets with 2 new employees. And the Vasa race was canceled, thank goodness. They couldn't get their DNR permit, which was nice. The DNR was concerned about the trails getting tore up, so they weren't issued a permit. But that's usually kind of a headache for us here at the fire department, even though it's a very popular race and it's attended very well. So other than that, I snuck in here at the bottom a note about my resignation, which I'm sure you'll be talking about here soon. So other than that, it was business as usual at the fire department. Oh, the brush truck is scheduled to go in on the 20th. So they're kind of holding true to getting it done before March 31st. So
That's great.
yes. So the next meeting, I will be able to say the brush truck is completely done and back or in service. On paper.
On paper. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I thank you so much for your service to the community over these last 6 years. You've done a fabulous job, and we are going to miss you.
Couldn't
Thank
say it
you.
any better than that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I am going to insist that you join the auxiliary. I'm sorry.
Lisa, here I come.
Yeah.
Heidi, any thing from the planning commission?
Well, because of an illness and a baby being born, we were kind of short. We had enough for a quorum, but we had to postpone a few things. We did have the final site plan review with the golf course, and with stipulations, it was passed. Stipulations had to do with repairing any of more road that gets destroyed, possibly by heavy equipment, etc. We had them put some we had them put some stipulations in their plan so that if something happened to the road, that they would be required to fix it.
Eddie, where's their main entrance coming in at? Down
On Moore
Arnold
Road,
or more?
more, nothing will be on Arnold at all.
Okay.
So in fact, they said they were, I guess there's an entrance. I looked at it yesterday. There's an entrance that comes out of Arnold Road from the hop farm. They don't know how long they're gonna keep that open. They're trying to cut down travel.
Do they have an entrance off in Bates? Backside entrance or no?
Just for logging,
Okay.
logging and fire. And that gate will be locked with keys to the fire department. That was, let's see, what else did we do? We talked about where the map and the surveyor was, but the planner wasn't there, so we didn't have any information on that. Our chair was busy in the labor room becoming a grandma.
Gotta have your priorities.
I guess. Other than that, the plan commission has some homework to do with looking over an ordinance and getting ready for a possible special use public hearing in April, but at the close of the meeting, they hadn't turned in anything yet to Bob. And Bob gave us his condolences. And that was about it. We made a correction, we made a correction on the annual report. There was an interesting word that made no sense in a sentence, so Bob made the corrections. And in April, I will give you, once we pass the budget, I'll make sure you get a copy of the annual report and the budget for the PC. That is all I got.
So just out of curiosity, the main entrance will be moving to Moore Road. Has anybody driven down Moore Road?
I go down it quite frequently.
We're gonna put arguably $12 million worth of investment on that road. Guess what's coming, kids?
An airport. Don't laugh because somebody bought the airport off a lot and so.
They did?
Yes,
I didn't hear that.
yep. So I don't know. It's right to use. I mean, we pretty much covered except the road problem.
Yeah.
What do you think's coming? The campground from
Well, Moore's not even a road
now?
at this point.
Nope.
You know, the pavement portion is so bad, so bad. They're gonna be on our doorstep wanting that road fixed. Betcha.
Well, according to the gentleman that stood before us, they want the natural presentation of element for their road.
Mm-hmm.
So bumpy and everything else, I guess, is part of the facade.
Andrew, are you here for the Park and Recs report? Okay, you're next.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Andrew Butler, Parks and Rec Manager. Things are ramping up at the park. I've spoken to North Shore Docks about putting in our new wonderful docks. They are working on a quote for that, but they will not start installing until April 1st due to water temperatures, they say. So we're moving forward on that. And as soon as I have a definitive date, we will know that. And we are very close to completing the transition over to Rover Pass. We ran into an issue a few weeks ago. We lost our contact person and were assigned a new one. So that put us back a few days. But the new person is very helpful and seems to be very knowledgeable. I have a few things we just need to change for the map and some wording. And at that point, we should be ready to launch after things are blocked off and everything is complete. I'm still waiting on some liability paperwork from a few seasonal campers, so we can finish that up. They have not sent that back. And at that point, we will start processing all the payments. And at this point, I think we're at 13, but I received 2 or 3 calls in the last few days, so we might be bumping up all the way to 15, which would be wonderful.
Can you explain the Rover Pass, please?
It's the new booking agency reservation site. It's a agency out of Texas. They're a new up and coming, very user-friendly interface. And I would think that the transition will be helpful for people booking and for also using it on laptops in the office compared to the old Beds 24 and other sites like that. This is new and vastly improved, I would say.
Will this eliminate the cash issue for campers or no?
Cash, oh, you mean compared to credit cards?
Mhm.
I would imagine, yes.
I like your bumper idea in here. I also received a phone call from a resident asking if there were going to be bumpers.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to see how that plan is going to be put into effect.
yeah, they definitely need it. I mean, 4x4 posts are not great for boats, especially if you're not good at piloting a boat.
Few comments regarding the docks, regarding those bumper posts, and I did look in that in the past when the docks got delivered. There are some stuff online that have sleeves that are cushioned that you can, that basically they come in a certain length and then you just cut them
Slide
to
over the
adjust,
top.
yeah, and slide over the top. So that is available to take a look at. And just as point, so you don't forget, North Shore Dock also does put in the swim buoys at the beach. So
yes.
make sure that that's part of the quote.
Absolutely.
They probably will not put those in
Later.
until April, when they put the docks in early April. They probably put those in usually, the first or second week in May as the weather changes, but
Yeah.
they're not necessarily synced up, but make sure that that gets done as well.
Sir.
So,
Anything else for Andrew?
Question about the signs. Where are we at with the progress on
We
them?
should be getting those up within the week. Finishing, everything's dry, just, I've been doing other stuff. Mike's been busy at the stairway, finishing and staining and general maintenance, picking up brush and clearing trees still.
Because you concerned me when you sent me those pictures of the signs. Now,
Although-
were those the conditions before it
Those were the,
started?
yes, those were the
Okay.
conditions once we started. I was just showing you the condition of them at the time when we started.
Yeah.
That was,
Few words, Andrew, you had me worried that that's what they look like
no,
now.
no, not a bit.
No, that's-
Sorry for the confusion, but yeah, we're way past that.
But thank you for showing me that.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Anybody
you,
else?
sir.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Andrew.
Special guest Grand Traverse County Road Commission. Hello.
Morning.
Hi. Are you the new manager?
Yes, I'm new target.
I should have bought darts.
With that being said, this is my first time addressing this board. I thought I'd just give you a little background about myself. I've been
Start
with
with your name.
Dan Watkins.
Dan Watkins.
Dan Watkins, yeah.
And feel free to move the microphone, yeah.
So I've been with the road commission for 9 years, held a couple different positions there. I started out as the fleet and facilities manager. From there, I moved into the superintendent's position and then most recently the manager since about the first of the year. Previous to that, very community oriented, like being involved in everything. So I was a firefighter EMT for Grand Traverse Metro. And then I also worked for Bill Marsh when I first came to the Grand Traverse area, but I've lived in Northern Michigan my entire life. So a little bit what we got going on. A couple things that are hot right now is brining roads. There's going to be a brine shortage this year. So we're trying to get ahead of everybody and making sure we get the brine orders in quickly So want to make sure when, get Grand Traverse County their allocated amount, make sure we get our roads brine. So
What's causing the shortage?
there's a lot of controversy going on right now about using oil well brine. So everybody's switching over to a calcium chloride mix. That's what we've been using the last few years, and it actually works really well. The roads have been holding up a lot better. We can go back and work them after it rains. So everybody's pushing to there, so they're not, ready for the influx of all these people that are trying to get away from the oil well brine, because Eagle's coming after that. So nobody wants to get themselves in trouble.
That's what's creating this.
That's what's creating is that, what we actually use. So what have we been doing here lately? Hasn't been a lot of snow. So we've now doing a lot of maintenance, a lot of cutting of trees right now. So no, not always everybody's favorite thing, cutting the trees, but it's vital part of getting our road infrastructure back in shape, getting the sun back to the roads, getting that subsurface dried out. So not everybody likes it when they come through and start cutting trees, but it's huge in what it does for us. And that's, stops the potholes and
Yeah, I'm fine with that. You can come
Yeah.
down Bunker Hill a little more.
yeah, Bunker Hill, all right. So what are we moving into? Next, we're moving into doing some high ridge and ditching. Again, just trying to save that road infrastructure, ability to get that water to shed off that high ridge. It builds up and the water stays in the road surface and seeps under there. So hoping to fire that up. Frost laws did come off Monday, so we're actually able to start doing a little bit of work now. You'll probably see quite a bit of increased truck traffic around. A little bit since I've been coming to this position, I've been doing a couple of trainings. I've taken it's called Pazer, and it's rating your asphalt roads. I've done 1 and 2, then did an IBR one, and that's rating your gravel roads. So you might be questioning why I mentioned that. One of my goals is moving forward is trying to figure out exactly what we have for infrastructure in Grand Traverse County for our roads. So far we've been able to figure out roughly the value of our asphalt roads was $1 billion. So if we had an unlimited fund, what would it cost to get our roads into perfect shape? We're looking at $221 million. So now that we know what our infrastructure is, what the amount of money is, our next step is I want to start breaking that down into each individual township. And that way we can go through and figure out the individual fix for each road. So that's the ultimate goal. So hopefully at some point I'm able to come back and say, this is exactly what's going on in Whitewater Township.
But you're not necessarily saying that you want to turn all gravel roads into paved roads, though, right?
No, this is just talking about asphalt roads, just to
Okay.
keep them what our, what minimally are. So it goes off a score of 1 to 100. Overall, Grand Traverse County is at a 65. And there's different fixes for different roads. And if you don't keep maintaining them, unfortunately, looking at the curve, we can fall off of that 65 really, really fast. So starting to identify what the issue is, what the cost is, and then hopefully we can start to come up with a plan moving forward. Whitewater Township, you have 41.45 miles of asphalt. That's just center lane, it doesn't include both lanes or, multi-lanes there. So roughly right now, if we come through and do a full crush and shape, we're about $1 million a mile. So right there is, over 41 million that would take to repave everything. So the goal is to maintain that so we don't have to get to that point. Then identify those roads that are already past that maintenance and start to identify those so we can go ahead and get those on the list to start getting them repaired. So a couple things we are looking into right now. We have a policy committee and a construction committee, and we're getting a lot of SADs in right now for subdivisions. And off our current standards, we have to build almost a complete road when we go in there. We're looking at trying to find different standards so that we can make these SADs a little more affordable and actually, maybe tune them a little bit more to an actual subdivision. So the prices that we're seeing come back right now are really, really high. So trying to look into that. Always available. Looking forward to working with everybody. If anybody has any questions anytime, please feel to reach out, or of course, if you have any questions today.
I have one.
Sure.
Wow, $1 million a mile. I've been hearing that for a long time. It hasn't gone up to 1.5. I once witnessed where they chew up the, chew up the old road and recycle it and put it back down. Have you looked into any of?
So we do a lot of that. That's called crush and shape. So that's mostly when we repave a road here in Grand Traverse County. That's what we do. Crush it up and that old asphalt becomes your solid bed, and then you come back over top of it.
And how is that working?
That works pretty good. And that's about a 20-year fix, I would say. With proper maintenance. That's the big thing. something that we're working on, that they're coming out with engineering, is they're finding that if you can come back in within the first 2 years of doing that crush and shape and getting a new road in, and you chip seal it, the chip seal doesn't look as nice, but it seals that in so that water can't get down to the asphalt. We're doing that. So a lot of people are like, you just paved that road 2 years ago. What are you back doing here? It actually extends the life of that road quite a bit by doing that. So we're trying to get ahead of that.
What are you doing to educate the public on items like what you just talked about?
Sure.
I mean, because they want to know, they're
Right.
paying a millage and they want to know, why are you back here in 2 years?
Right.
What is Grand Traverse County Road Commission doing for education of the public? So they know what you're doing.
Right. So one thing we just did, and I was going to mention this, we just redid our website. And if you go there, we have a new icon button in there. It says townships on it. If you go in there, there's going to be a lot of information about townships. But currently, if you go down there and you look at it, you can see all of your roads. What's a primary? What's a local? How many miles you have? So that's our first step. The next step will be a breakdown is what is the fix for that road and what is the cost for that. So obviously there's that. Facebook's a big one. Everybody seems to like Facebook. We have been pushing news pretty hard lately. 7 and 4, 9 and 10, Record Eagle, going through there. But we've been trying to get a goal of getting like some path ones together, maybe some small videos that we can, put out of what we do and why we're doing it.
How are you reaching the non-internet people?
We've also been talking about trying to like put a flyer together, and then, when the townships put out their,
Newsletters.
yearly newsletters, that hopefully we can have something together that we can put into those
Well,
newsletters.
we're getting ready to start working on our big newsletter. So if you want to contact me later, we can go over how much room I have for you.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to put something in our township
I
newsletter.
think that would be a really good idea
welcome.
because
That'd be great.
most people don't even have a clue that it's their responsibility to fix their own road unless it's a thoroughfare.
It is crazy. The more I look into it and see the shortage
People
in
have no
funding,
clue.
everybody thinks from the state, and we get the MTF funding, that just gives us enough money to plow the roads, fix some potholes, paint some lines.
Because it comes back in population levels, not as
There's
neat.
nothing left. Yeah. Luckily, we do have that small millage here, the 1 mil, and that's pretty much what provides us the opportunity to do new roads. So if we didn't have that millage, we'd pretty much just be doing maintenance.
Because I don't think people have a clue. I really don't.
That's what, most people think that I pay property taxes and that goes all to it, and they don't realize that it's fuel tax. And unfortunately, it's not fuel spent, it all goes on to Lansing, and they decide how much we get to have back.
That's the
So
problem.
That's
It's
the
not
problem.
coming back to your community. And most people, if they've moved here from a larger city or something, are like, well, you get MFT. No, we don't. So maybe, here's where we start. Here's what's different. Because most people don't even have a clue that they don't even get their MFT funds back. Because if you live in a small community and you only have, look at Union, they don't even, what are they getting? Nothing.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you look at their population and you look at the percentages that's given out.
Yeah, well, fix the damn roads is not coming to our township.
But
from
the
Lansing.
problem is she makes that assumption that everyone knows what she means by that, and that's not, she can only fix certain roads.
Well, they hear it. And they automatically think, well, this means my roads too. And it's-
Exactly, because they have no concept that it's their requirement because they don't pay enough in property taxes. I mean, you want a beautiful road? It starts at home, right in the check. Because you fund your services.
Speaking of roads, on Williamsburg Road, when you get into those curves, right towards the last part of the curve heading south, there is like a deterioration of the asphalt. And when you hit that, it throws you into oncoming traffic. You have to really be careful there. So if anybody could patch and fill there, that would be.
You
a
gotta go
safety
on the
issue.
website and take a picture like everyone else.
Well, I have somebody standing right here, I can tell.
I will mention that to our road foreman as soon as I get back.
Thank you.
Anything else for Dan?
Good. Nice
Thank you
meeting
very much.
All right.
We look forward to
Good to meet
seeing
you.
you more often.
All right. Thank you. Nice
Thank
meeting
you.
everyone.
Thanks, Jason.
Motion for the consent calendar.
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion made and seconded. Not yet.
Who's seconded? it?
I'll
Didn't
second
hear a
it.
second.
Motion
second.
made and seconded.
you.
Further discussion?
Under the supervisor's report, where you talk about meeting with the ZBA members, I think it would be way more beneficial for them to get some formal education webinars or something like that. They could come in here and somebody could set up a computer for them, let them watch a webinar or something. I'm concerned that they may get misinformation and not all be told the same thing when you have one person who's doing it individually. And I do think that they need to just have some education that is been put together specifically for ZBA members.
They could start with taking Citizen Planner. It'd be really informative for
We
them.
could start with learning how to run a meeting.
Okay, let's not.
Any other?
I
consent
have
calendar items?
one on
Okay.
Bob's report on page 16. This, in the middle of the page, it says, this concerns found on page number 27, this PDF link.
The link's not working.
The link's not working, and I went to page 27, it's the Historical Society. Did you know what he was referring to in this report?
Hmm.
I have no idea either.
Yeah,
So-
he was referring to a page in the October packet that looks like was an Excel spreadsheet that has almost all of the information redacted. That's what the page 27 is.
But page 27 of the October 2023 packet could be one of 4 or 5 packets, I think, because you had some special meetings. But page 27 in the,
Well, I forget which one it is. Yes, we did have 3 meetings. He didn't specify, but I did look it up and I did verify with him that it is page 20. He is correct on the page 27. And it might have been the October 26th meeting.
I'm reasonably confident that he's referring to his October report, which is actually in the November, it was in the November.
November meeting
regular
packet.
meeting
Okay, thank
packet.
you.
And it corresponds with page 27, so I don't have that note with me, but
That's
it took me a
okay.
while to find it as well.
Well, I kept going back to each meeting and I went to each page 27 and then I kept hovering. I'm like, okay, I got nothing. So I'll ask. Okay, I'll be in the November packet
Yeah,
then. Thank
check-
you.
Check that, I think it's. there.
Thank you.
And so I didn't understand any of this, quite frankly. So the single written complaint was involved in 2 separate issues to be addressed. Letters were mailed to each property owner. A single written complaint has involved 2 separate issues. Letters were mailed to each property owner. So do we have 1 parcel, 2 parcels? What's going on? And then we're left hanging here. Apparently, they've not gotten back to him. And if I remember correctly from that report, which I probably don't, we had concerns of whether or not we'd even elevated to
Or
the
had
second
the-
letter.
Or had the right
Right.
addresses.
So,
Yeah, there's no matrix that says where its status is.
no.
When I have questions about something in Bob's report, I give him a call and ask him so that when I get to the meeting, I
So then you
know what
the
he's
answer.
talking about. And I would encourage everybody, if you have a question about somebody's report, you should give them a call, start some communication, open up the lines of communication. instead of waiting till you get here and then complaining that you don't know what the information is. If you didn't understand something, you should have a duty to get it. Get the information from the source.
Any other consent calendar items?
I'm not sure why the closed session minutes were left off the consent calendar, but they should have been put on there.
We had an opportunity to add stuff.
Honestly, it doesn't, you know, it should have been on there. Why didn't you have it on there? That's your oversight.
Oh, I just have a question then, Cheryl, because if that's an oversight, then when you don't get your stuff in the packet on time and then you don't add it when we come to the table, it's the same thing. So whatever.
Oh, my
Thought I'd
stuff's,
make that
my
statement.
stuff's in the
I was just
packet.
Making a statement.
My stuff's
Just
in the
making a
packet.
statement.
Closed session minutes do not go in the packet, Heidi.
I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to other information that gets put, that misses the agenda, then gets put on the website, then doesn't get added when we're
Well, I
sitting
mean,
here at
you
the
know,
table.
what
That
is
was
the
my,
deadline for that? Ron hasn't met the deadline for board packets in what, a year?
I'm not opening this discussion up, Cheryl.
Well, you're
I'm just
telling me
making a
I'm
point.
late getting something to the packet
That
and I'm
had
telling
nothing-
you,
Nope, nope.
who
I
knows
didn't
when the
say that.
packet's going out?
That's not what I said. I said you don't add it when you get the opportunity.
Well, I'm
to
just,
add
Roll
it.
call when
you,
ready.
you all
Go
Okay,
ahead.
have,
Call
this
the
is
vote,
wasting
please.
time and I'd rather
Call
not
the
do
vote.
that. Could we stop, please? Thank you.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Valmuth,
Yes.
Pop.
No. We have another meeting going on in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go tell him that. Move away from the door.
She's doing that, and I take 2 seconds. I'm embarrassed. I've left my calendar.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna need that here in a couple minutes.
Yep.
Sorry about that, folks. Sitting there.
Finished business number 1. I don't think I have any park items that need to be discussed. Andrew, is there anything from your perspective that the board needs to take up? So then that'll move to counteroffer the ambulance.
Have you heard back from them? Because that was your letter of counteroffer, right?
So Eric and I had lots of conversations on the telephone. And if you'll notice the one line item, it came down to one line item and it was the Striker power load lift system. I had originally estimated it at $9,000 of value. And Eric indicated that, you know, those devices have a 7-year lifespan, need to be rebuilt every 7 years or thereabouts. And so ours, the one on our ambulance is about 5. So he felt the 9,000 was a little over.
So
You know,
you drop it?
so I dropped it to 4,500, which is what you see here. This is approved by Eric from MMR.
Great.
So he's just waiting for us to approve it. He wants the minutes, specific language. Well, first of all.
Yeah,
motion
we
to
don't have a
sell-
motion on the table and we're having lots of discussion, so.
Motion to sell the 2010 ambulance.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. So to answer your question, Ardella, yeah, we had several conversations on this. And he was concerned, Eric was concerned that once we made this motion that's in the packet, that MMR would be released from all previous motor vehicle lease requirements. And so I think that's how I tried to craft the motion that you see in the packet. And he's accepted it.
Okay, so should your motion be more?
Oh, we can make another motion. We can amend it.
You don't see that number changing, do you?
What number is
The
that?
48,475.
What would you like to change it to?
No, I said you don't foresee it changing, do you?
No.
Well, in order that future boards looking back on these minutes will have some idea what the hell the 2010 ambulance is, I will state for the record that it is the Type 3 Chevrolet 4500 Marquis ambulance, VIN number 1GB9G5B68A1119335. And all of its onboard equipment listed or not, and the sale is to Mobile Medical Response.
And I would amend my motion to read as exactly is printed in this packet.
As written?
Yeah.
I'll second it. Or I'll remove and resecond if that helps you.
Chief, any input? No. Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Boss, yes, Valmuth,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Motion passes. So with respect to title transfer, you probably have the title to that.
the clerk's office has all titles, yes.
Okay. So who needs to sign the title? Is
A board member.
Okay.
We'll want the check first.
so we added the .gov scheduling.
Yes, we did. Unfinished business.
Mhm.
I don't know, this is, oh, I got a motion. Let's see.
Motion to set the .gov migration schedule.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
So I don't know that anything has radically changed other than the timing. It seems like the process and the preparation doesn't appear to have changed. So I'm not, other than, I'm looking here for my note here. The issue, and I don't know where the board as a whole, and I can't remember where we landed. I went back and looked at my notes, and NetLinks is recommending, the two-factor authentication to be enabled on all backup. And I'm not disputing that. I think that's a good safeguard. But in the situation where, we don't have township issued phones, but yet we're going to be putting two-factor or could put two-factor authentication on somebody else's personal phone, doesn't seem to be a good practice to me. You've got a township piece of equipment with a non-township owned or supported phone, and you're going to connect the two in that manner.
I do it. I have 2 incidences where that's happening now. One
Yeah,
for
I
the
won't be
county,
doing that. I'll be
one for the
ordering a
county
phone, I
and one
guess.
for,
There was another method of multi-factor authentication that was discussed and doesn't involve your personal cell phone.
not for the
Help me
county.
remember that, because I.
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm trying to remember that myself. But there was another method. I won't be using my personal cell phone for it. Absolutely not.
We also use it at the Fed level.
ARPA.
Yep.
Using your personal phone for
Yep.
two-factor.
Yep, they
I mean,
send a code.
I'm not saying it isn't done, and I'm not saying it seems, it just seems inconsistent. And maybe, that's just the way it is. And
Honestly, with the ARPA, it is a level of convenience.
Mhm. Oh, it's a simpler way out of alternatives of two-factor
Yeah.
authentication.
And I honestly, Don, I would not want to have to carry around a second cell phone.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I've done that in the past for other jobs, and it's
a pain in the
I-
butt. I had to carry 3. It's not fun.
but I don't, in this case where this is being presented, or at least in this write-up from NetLink talking about, it's a recommendation of theirs. I just want to be clear. I'm not going to put two-factor authentication on the laptop. So, and just for the simple fact that I just don't think the two should be connected. But that's.
But is that an option for us to not?
It says in here, we recommend, it doesn't say that it's mandatory.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. So it's not mandatory.
So. So did we, I don't get a sense, I know this thing had talked about 1 or 2 days, and I find it hard to imagine they'll get it done in 1 day. And 2 seems to even be a stretch. So I think we should probably looking.
Well,
looking at it.
we had originally said we'd start with the township board's laptops, right? Laptops and desktops.
Well,
That's
I
where
think
they're gonna
that's what was
start in
the
my
start, but I
office.
thought all the equipment was going to be coming in mass. It didn't make a difference where they started, but everything was
Everybody's
gonna
had
be
to be
stacked
set
up in
here.
here. And then there was a question of the office PCs,
Mhm.
desktops, and then progressing through the different boards and any other pieces of equipment out there. And so, but I had the takeaway that it was just scheduling a drop-off date and everything coming in, which I would just cautiously remind everybody, if we're gonna have that much equipment in there, and there aren't a whole lot of, there are some pieces that are similar. I'll use Heidi's, for example, her Lenovo and mine are the same, and, you know, I've taken to putting a tag on it, trusty O2, even on my charger and on the mouse that came with it. And I
Good
would
idea,
probably
Don.
just say that, you know, belts and suspenders, so you're not getting your same pieces of equipment back. You may just want to tag it.
And maybe when they come in, we use our labeler and we put it on there for them.
Good solution.
Or let everybody label their own. Then you don't have more work.
So I'm just saying that I could save some headaches of trying to sort stuff out after the fact.
Well, I think we agreed they're gonna start with the desktop computers first. So that's where they're gonna start in my office. Is with the desktop computers, because I don't use this for email, so.
And I thought we had landed that they were gonna basically start at one computer, then move right to the next one. And meanwhile, while all these migrations are happening, it's kind of like a sequential order. You start one, then you go to the next, then you go to the next, then you.
Yeah, see, that was my impression.
That
too.
was
I thought
That was mine as well.
that's where we had landed.
Yeah, that was mine as well.
Yeah, I think
It isn't
that
gonna be
is
one
what-
at a time.
Yes.
No.
Right.
They're all gonna be probably running simultaneously, but what's the date? Or I mean, I have some time in April that I'm not available, so,
You're looking at like something the week of April 8th,
well, we have our board meeting on the 9th.
right? Okay, so it's just sometime 10th or later. Board meeting? Or the.
I can be
following-
available,
following week,
well-
The 15th.
The 15th, that week I'm out of the office totally and Teresa's also gone.
But you could drop
I'm
off,
out of the office on Tuesday. She's gone all week, but
you could drop your equipment off though, that
no.
before the end of the week, right?
This is the only portable equipment I have. I don't use this for email. The desktop computers are the ones that need to be set up. Someone has to be here from our office to set up the desktop computers and get that going. So me bringing this or not is, I won't even be bringing it unless there's something he wants to install on here, but I don't intend to use this for the .gov account. So we need to be here. We're talking desktop computers for the clerk's office. For those two addresses that are going to go in there.
Do you want to push it into May?
Let's get it done. I mean, they're ready to do it and I think we just.
What
need to get
days
it
are you
done.
available again, Cheryl?
Well, I'm available, I'm not available the 9th. None of the board is available on the 9th. I'm not available on the 16th. So, I mean, I suggest it starts on a Wednesday so that they've got Wednesday and Thursday to do it.
Later in the month, so it doesn't interfere with other boards and commissions.
Sure.
So let's take a real life look at this, and it might help with the scheduling. You know, we had lots of, I think the number is 41 emails set up, right? But in reality, the PrAC has no township issued computers. So none of those emails are going to be used. The Planning Commission has, I'm going to say, 4 laptops. You, Al, Rachel, and Carl. Oh, Keith has one too.
What happened to
Is
Alex
Keith his?
Darrow's laptop? The last I saw, Ron, you had that. What happened to that laptop?
I believe it was reassigned to either Carl or.
No, Carl got his laptop at the same time as Alex. He doesn't have Andrew's.
I don't know.
Was it an HP? Keith
Well, the
has an
last time I
HP.
saw you using it, you were fiddling with the Zoom over here. And it was on top of the file cabinet in the copy room, but it hasn't been there in a long, long time.
So my point was that besides the computers that are currently in this room, either desktop or laptop, we don't have a lot of migration going on. Now, my concern is that let's just take Mike Jacobson, for example. Mike, I'm not picking on you, but we all know that he doesn't have a computer. His wife helps him get stuff offline and print or whatever. So do we migrate that email address too? You understand what I'm saying here? Like Mel, Park and Recs would be another person, right?
She really should have a township. All chairs should have a township
Oh,
laptop.
absolutely, absolutely. And I was dumbfounded that she didn't, quite honestly.
And she
We'd asked-
uses her own, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was a huge oversight of the previous Park and Recs administrator not to get the chair one of those
Oh,
devices.
please. Her computer's so far advanced over what we provide. She
But
doesn't
the
want
point
to
is
use that.
that she should be using a township issued one so that none of her personal stuff is foiable. Because it'll be on her personal laptop.
Well,
Well, I
so
think
it-
that's her work computer.
It really goes back to the email address. That's what's being migrated, right?
But let's say we do not migrate. We're gonna use Mike as an example, okay? We don't migrate him. And let's say that Mike says, I'm all done. And thank you very much. I've served my community. And somebody else gets put on the plan commission in his place. And they are more technology advanced and they want a laptop.
Mhm.
Well, then isn't it just a new sign up? It's not really a migration.
So in that specific scenario, let's say that Mike's township email was PC5. I have no idea if it is or not. But if it was PC5, then the new person would get a computer that can log into PC5, probably some change in login credentials, but other than that, that's it.
So it's not a migration.
So it
At
would
that
not-
point, it would be a new sign up. It'd be, because there's nothing to migrate if it was never really used.
Yeah, well, we don't know that, right? We don't know.
It can be abandoned. I mean, and just treated as a new.
Really, I don't think we know enough about the migration process.
Migration to me, Ron, means I'm currently using it here. I've got all this history and I want it migrated. I don't want to lose it. But if you're not using it, or the little bit that you did use it, or somebody else used it, isn't necessary to be migrated over, why do the migration? Just do the new setup. Because the .gov extension is what's making it a new email address. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So maybe the people that, like you were saying, we have 41 of these, but why are we migrating them all if they're not being used?
Well, we're all paying for them all already.
Well, it's gonna be a short migration on a lot of them. There won't be much
That's
to
my
it.
point. I mean, you know, if you take a look at this table, there's five laptops. One won't be migrated. You have 2 desktops. Cheryl has 2 desktops. So I just don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. We're gonna collect some PCs from the PCs members, and that's really gonna be it.
Treasurer's office only has 1 desktop, I believe. Don?
Right,
Okay, so-
my deputy uses a laptop as a desktop. So we decided to go with the desktop, we went with the laptop. It's easier in our room to be able to move from one place to another with it.
So if somebody misses your migration, you're gonna set up something down the road, or too bad, too sad?
Well, if somebody misses it, they can bring in the laptop. It can be, maybe NetLink can pick it up and take it to their office and do it and return it within a day or so.
It's through the air. It's not a physical thing. So they could do it wherever the device was at. It's magical.
Yeah. Yep.
Laptops or desktops? Desktops.
So the date.
Seventeenth, 18th, 19th,
March or April?
April.
Those work for me. Any of those days?
Good for me.
I'll have to figure it out. I don't have a schedule that far.
Do you typically work 3 days in a row, Wednesday through Friday?
Cheryl, I said, I don't have a schedule that far out yet, so I'll have to deal with it when I figure out my schedule. No, my
It's
schedule
those three-
floats.
She can
Those 3
schedule with
dates work for
NetLink
me.
herself then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have to.
I'm just saying it floats. I don't make the rules. The boss does.
So 417, 418, and 419 have been set aside for NetLink to perform the .gov migration on township desktop and laptop computers.
That is if they're available. Okay. New business, I'm sorry, John?
Never mind, yeah, I was just thinking back on the motion was just to discuss the dates, that's all. So we set the dates and so just did them by consensus, that's all. I just want to make sure there wasn't anything procedurally that we needed to close up on that.
Well, there probably is. Yep. So we probably need to vote on those dates, to close it out.
I love autocorrect. I put this in my calendar as .gov migration and it changed it to love migration. Love migration. Oops.
So I'll amend my motion to discuss .gov migration dates to motion making April 17th, 18th, and 19th days set aside for .gov migration.
I'll second. Or who seconded?
I had before.
You did.
I'll just resecond that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Felmy,
Yes.
New business number 1.
I'll
Motion-
make a motion to permit Chief Lynn to sell the 1969 AM General Brush Truck on govdeals.net auction website with no reserve price set.
Could I suggest maybe you add the VIN number in there that's in his memo?
Somebody want to read it off? I don't have that in front of me.
I can give it to you.
Ready?
052 52 22 79.
And maybe
I
the
would add that
mileage.
to my motion, VIN number 052522279.
I will second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Why the no reserve?
I don't know. Because I don't know what it's worth.
Best offer.
And it's gonna be as is. You know, it won't pass DOT, so there are some issues with it.
What's the mileage on it?
The mileage, ooh, I don't know. I don't even know if the odometer is working correctly.
I don't know if I do know reserve. Somebody could get it for $5. I bought
Somebody
an
will
ambulance.
outbid that.
There's at least a scrap value of it.
I bought an ambulance for $1.
And that's where I was going, Don. I don't know that I'm comfortable with the no reserve price.
I think at least you should get the scrap or a little above.
So worst case scenario, it doesn't sell in the first go round. Then you could always do a no reserve.
No, I'm okay with that, yeah.
You know, I regularly see these vehicles on Facebook for $5,500.
It's,
Now they are roadworthy. But so is that one. But you say it won't pass a DOT, so I don't know what it won't pass a DOT on.
The brake cylinder.
Oh, okay. Mhm. So, you know, to a wrench guy, that's not a lot,
that's
right?
minimal.
So I would encourage the board to look at a reserve price.
What do you think scrap value on that is? 5,
And so
maybe 3?
what does the back of the truck look like now? Just a cabin chassis?
Nope, it still has the flatbed on it.
Still has a flatbed on it, okay?
Now it's a tow truck.
So that has adds some value.
I don't know, I would think a reserve price would be between $4,000 and $5,000.
That's what I'm
That's
thinking.
what I would.
Between 35 and
And if it
5.
doesn't sell the first time and we don't get any bites on it, then fine.
Sounds good.
Did you sell the snowmobiles with a reserve or no?
No, that was by sealed bid. Those mobile.
You know, that one plow truck that we looked at for East Bay, for the park, that East Bay Township was auctioning off, that thing went for over 10 grand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think you set it at 5 and see what happens.
Okay, I'm fine with 5.
Yeah.
So
Ladies, are you okay with that? Comments? Nothing?
Well, somebody can just amend the motion.
it's your motion.
Go
It's your
ahead.
responsibility.
Go ahead. I'll withdraw my motion.
Why didn't you just amend it, Cheryl?
And it's very easy for someone to amend it. Honestly, I don't think it, my personal opinion is we don't need a reserve price on it, but so if somebody else wants to make the motion, that's fine.
I'll make a motion to, how you want to auction off the 1969 AM General VIN number 0525222279 with a reserve amount of $5,000,
A reserve amount of what?
$5,000.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
I just don't want to see it going for $5.
Chief Flynn asked for a specific website, govdeals.net in his original.
I'll amend my motion.
And so maybe, I'm just asking, maybe we could follow Chief Flynn's motion as written, add the VIN, and add a reserve price of $5,000.
So just take the no out
Correct.
as $5,000 to the end. And add the VIN number in, and that's good.
Yep. So you want me to redo this now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to sell the 1969 AM General on govdeals.net auction website with a reserve of $5,000. And could you put the VIN number of 0525222279? Why don't you put that after the general, the 1969 AM General VIN number? And then read it back to me, please.
I'm gonna read it the same way you said it, Heidi. Motion by Valmuth to sell the 1969 AM General on govdeals.net auction website with a reserve of $5,000, VIN number 0525222279.
Did she say?
This is why we come with prepared motions. We got an
This
awful
is
lot of
why we
motions out
need
here.
someone else doing this.
Yeah.
I can be just as
Exactly.
cocky.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Come with.
Read
Well,
that first
Cheryl,
part.
some people are supposed to do what
Cheryl,
others
read that
ask.
first part, because I thought I heard.
The
Heidi-
last one,
Yeah.
the last iteration,
Yeah, I thought I heard Heidi say that the motion was to permit Chief Flynn, and then you said.
well, this is what she said.
Okay,
Motion to sell the 1969 AM General on govdeals.net auction website with a reserve of $5,000, VIN 0525222279.
Do we have to give the permission to the chief? Is that the problem? And no one has an answer for the question.
I would say yes.
Yeah, and again, I think my recommendation, Heidi, was to read what.
Okay,
Chief
Cheryl,
Flynn
you're gonna
had.
type again. Let's go. I can sit here all day and do this.
Yeah, I like it.
I have no problem. I've done this
Well,
before.
I don't.
Well, dude, not getting any help here, so
Heidi, go with
It's your
first-
motion.
Heidi, go with your first intuition to put the VIN number behind the general.
here's my motion, Cheryl. To permit Chief Flynn to sell the 1969 AM General VIN number 0525222279 on govdeals.net auction website with a reserve price of $5,000.
Ron?
I'll re-second, yeah. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Valmuth,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
New business item number 2. Resignation of Chief Flynn.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Fire Chief Brandon Flynn.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
If we vote no, does he have to stay?
I was just thinking about.
Well,
that.
I wasn't gonna ask the question, so you know the impetus of my no vote here. Okay, just laying that out there. So-
Is there any chance the chief could give us another 60 days on that? 30 days?
Nope, I can't. I apologize.
Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Valmuth,
I vote no.
Goss, yes. Glenn,
Yes.
Motion passes. Motion to accept Rachel Steelman's resignation from the Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Valmuth,
Yes.
Goss, yes. Glenn,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes. New business number 4, Whitewater Township Bryan Agreement with Grand Traverse County. Actually, it's called something else. Motion to sign the county road improvement agreement between the Grand Traverse County Road Commission and Whitewater Township.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
I noticed it's only $133 increase per mile over last year, which is one of the lower increases we've had.
Is this, the price that we're looking at here, is this for 2 brines, the total, or per brine? Okay,
17,911.
right, but I read it and then I reread it. Where did I miss the per? Is it just automatically, we're supposed to assume it's per? Did I miss it?
Well, it says grand total 17,911.30, but then it says estimated costs and we're responsible for 50%.
That is 50%.
So here's how I deduced it. County maintained miles of road is 19.72. Non-county is 1.4. You look on the following page, that's consistent with all the roads that we have that are gravel. That's that little block out, small block in the lower right-hand corner. And that's consistent with the miles. So as you can see, it's $32,000 to do that.
Mhm.
Yep.
What do you come up with 32,000, Ron? 17,900 times 2. Oh, you're talking about the 19.72 is 32,000.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
And just kind of migrating across
Yeah,
the sheet
yeah,
from left to right.
Yep.
And then we get a contribution from the road commission at 16,000.
Yep.
Leaving the balance to us.
And it does say 2 applications for that price.
It
Well, you
looks like it.
you have a
You
choice
choose the
there.
number of your applications.
Underneath the table there, Heidi, there's the lines to choose. Check a box or check a line and put the number of applications that you want.
So I'm going to read it as 17,900 is 1 brine. Is that how you read it?
Yeah, that's consistent with the format.
So
they
the
used last
32
year.
is the cost of 2, but you only have to pay 50%. So in essence, you're really paying 32,000, but it's 17 each brine.
I guess maybe in the future, under grand total, they could put grand total per brine. So if you're picking 3 or 4, it's just
But see, they
clearer.
won't
Now, that
know
number is only in the township column, so,
They won't know what the total number is because after the second brine, they no longer contribute.
Right, I see that in the first paragraph, or second paragraph.
So you have the unknown yet.
They really don't have a way of.
it's very unusual to have a third brine. The only time we've had a third brine in that particular year, we were the only township that got it done.
And this is gonna set up to be one of those years. I mean, pending what our rainfall is, we're gonna have dust in April. We've never had dust in April. And so, none of us can really forecast out that far, but
Right, they have it listed
Well,
here.
where
the
you
first
deal with
brine
that is in
scheduled
the
for April.
budget. So if you think you're gonna need 3, then you better budget for 3.
Because the last one they're gonna do is in June.
Well, the second one they're gonna do is in June.
Well, if we pick 2, the last one they're doing is in June.
Yeah,
So you got July and August and September.
which will be arguably some of the driest months we have, right? And so I can already envision the phone calls coming in. When I saw this, that they're gonna start April 1, I thought, okay.
Why?
Well,
because it's so dry.
probably because it's so dry.
Well, hopefully it rains all April. I'll be doing a rain dance.
Who
The
knows?
product
So-
that they put down now is far superior to the product that they have put down in the past.
I still would feel more comfortable if our first brine started in May. And then be able to push out our next
But we
one.
don't get to pick that.
But if we do,
We don't.
end of April then.
The brine truck comes and it does all of Grand Traverse County. And the
Well, they
brine
don't
truck
do them
doesn't
all
come
in one
back.
day.
Well, no, they don't do them all in one
Because
day,
we're
but
talking
the
the
brine truck
complete
is
county.
not from this area, Della, and so it doesn't drive back here multiple times to
What?
do the brining.
What does it do when it runs out? Imagine that.
Well, I can tell you right now, sometimes they do half my road and they have to come back. And
I've seen
sometimes
it-
it's not the next day.
I've seen them do half a park road at a time too.
Because they run out of brine.
I'm just saying, Ron, if we have a choice, I would rather have it later. Either that or you're gonna have to add another brine, because you cannot go from June
Yeah.
to the end of fall with no brining. I don't care how good the product is.
I
I
do see
agree
that as
there.
as an issue, Ardella. I do. I absolutely do.
What about it raining in April? You're gonna do a brine in April and then it rains. And rains and rains and rains. We still haven't had our rainy season yet. So I'm wondering if they're starting this brine too early.
Another excellent point, Heidi. I just think this is another screw up of the road commission.
I have to tell you, Ron, I'm pretty sure every township out there that has dirt roads are all sitting around having the same conversation.
I-
Can't be the only ones.
So
I
if,
would really think that, Ardella.
if we put our request in and with the suggestion that they might want to move the
Hold on
schedule
a
out,
minute.
maybe they'll listen.
Here's your out. This proposal's for summer of 2024. Please return by March 15th, 2024 to schedule the first application. Does that mean we get to pick?
No. It means we'll be last on the
It
list.
says the first application is to take place towards the middle to the end of April. Maybe we don't sign the
And if we get a
agreement unless
bunch
we
of
change
rain,
it.
they will push that out.
They were pretty good about that, 1 year. I don't remember.
But yeah,
what it-
1 year, one year they weren't.
Right.
Because remember, we took that cruise to look at all the brine and seeing if it was done, and we were like, what is going on here? So
I thought I heard Dan Watkins say that one of the reasons that they were moving on this is because they're anticipating a shortage of the calcium chloride product.
They need to get their orders in.
Yeah, I agree. And what goes back to your point though, Ardella, let's say we put a contingency in the budget for a third brine, whether we use it or not, and we put it in there. I'm just going to say that that's not the absolute solution, because we still don't even know if we could find brine.
that's gonna be
and
the problem.
find somebody to do it. So and I think you're right, Ron, that, August, July and August can be really, really parched.
And what's to say they're not gonna say, well, you asked for 3 brines, so you're just gonna get 3 brines.
That's
But-
not how, well, if, we've never really done that. We've budgeted for 3 and then didn't need 3.
Right?
We used it one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have budgeted for the third brine. Just as
But
a
didn't
condition.
get it because we didn't need it.
Right, but I'm saying we had the foresight to put that into the budget, and then just take a determination. I mean, there's really a lot at play here. I know what they wish they want to do, but is the road commission capable of pulling this off to even start and get it done by late April? I'd say, I'd be willing to take a 50-50 even money split on that. They don't do it till May, but.
The only problem is I would take that bet, but not with all the nice days we have, because they're gonna go, oh, we got nice days, call the brine people. We got nice days coming. And now it's pushed earlier than you maybe need it. That's
To
my thought.
address 3 applications and maybe some of the other questions here. I think for the purpose of this meeting, we select the number of brines that we always go with, which is 2. Thinking that the road commission doesn't contribute any money to a third brine
Right.
leads me to believe it would be a private sale from the briner to Whitewater Township
If we needed a third one,
if we wanted a third one. We would probably do it under Grand Traverse County's agreement that maybe they have with the brine supplier, excuse me. But I think that this, number one, establishes a number of gallons potentially needed for Grand Traverse County, and it establishes a baseline cost for the road commission. And if we wind up needing a third one, then at budget time, maybe we do plan for 3-yard delta.
So, and I'm perfectly fine with everything you just said. I have a question. Does anybody else remember from last year? Because I didn't pull it up, when it was that they had in their agreement their first brine would be. I mean, is this the first year we've had it where they said they were gonna start in April?
I think it is.
I think this is
I
the
think
first
it
time it's
is.
ever been warm in April in Michigan.
Let's see. I have that under road commission.
Last year's agreement, the first application was expected to take place towards the middle to end of May. The second application will be towards the middle to end of July. Both applications are weather permitting.
Yeah, and the county wanted their information back by April 28th. Now it's March 15th.
Sure,
Just
they
6
got
weeks
nice
earlier.
weather.
Well, due to the brine shortage, but if you're gonna want a budget for 3 brines, you're gonna need $68,000 in the road fund. That's without any adjustments in their price.
18,000 times 3 is 68.
No, 18,000 times 2 is 36.
Oh,
And then the
yeah.
third brine
Right.
is the 34,000
Yeah.
in the estimated cost column, because the county road commission does not, we have to pay 100% of that.
Mhm.
Right.
And according to what the golf course guy said the other night in the plan commission, apparently they can just call up the road commission and pay for the brine.
Well, maybe that's the agreement they have with them.
I told him I wanted it in the plan. That's why you have stipulations, because I was not taking a gentleman's bet on that.
So I recommend that for the purpose of this document, we take 2. And when we're in the budget meeting, I recommend we look towards 3. And quite frankly, if we really want to look at this, not all of our roads are highly popularized, right? And as you can see on the, let's see, packet page 76, they're no longer brining the off-road portion of Samuel's Road. They're only going up to a certain brine stake. That was a half a mile of nothing but pure sand.
Yep.
But we were paying for brine on it. And so the point is that maybe the third brine could be just those heavily populated roads. Broomhead out to Sand Lakes. The other 2.5 miles of Broomhead, considered off-road enjoyment, whatever you want to, so that's always a cost-saving measure that we could use for the third application.
Yeah. And again, we could ask them to move their start date out.
And I will do that. If the board thinks that's a good idea, that's definitely on my mind.
I would like that.
For once, I want to be last.
Yeah,
I think.
well, maybe ask them why, is it because of the weather we're experiencing that you're moving this up? Or is it because of personnel? You know, weather's an iffy thing. And it also causes you to spend more money if it's dry or wet for another brine. So maybe we should ask them why they moved it up. Is it if it's weather? You know, is this gonna be something next year too, that you gotta already start your brine earlier and earlier? Because that's another month, leaving you with the prime 3 months of tourist season.
Yeah, I clearly. heard
I
him
don't
say it's a
understand
supply
that.
product. I mean, what I heard him say was it's the supply, of the calcium chloride is why.
Yeah, they're
I
not,
got a hard time believing that.
I have a really hard time believing that, but okay.
Cowflake is made year round. So 2 brines,
2 brines, and we'll budget internally for a third and address as needed. If needed.
so you'll authorize the supervisor to sign, supervisor and clerk to sign the,
Is this a new motion?
no, we're
We've
still-
already had a motion.
So
The
you-
motion was by Pop was to sign the county road improvement agreement between the Grand Traverse County Road Commission and Whitewater Township, second by Valmuse.
Okay. I'll amend the motion to include supervisor and clerk to sign the document.
Will you also amend it just to that there's 2 brines, or does that need to be?
So read the motion back, Cheryl.
The original motion is motion to sign the county road improvement agreement between the Grand Traverse County Road Commission and Whitewater Township, amended to include supervisor and clerk to sign the document.
So you
I
probably
mean,
should put in there too.
we already know what it's gonna be. You're gonna request 2.
I agree, Ardella. We should include 2.
You should, because you might need 3. And paying for the third one's a different amount.
That brings up a new point.
Sure does. Because this says after 2, it says the township will pay 100% for all seasonal public access road requested and for any additional applications after 2.
It amazes me how this simple item.
Doesn't
What's
have
the
to,
number you're gonna put on the document?
I think we all agreed to. We're gonna budget for 3 though, in case we have to.
Okay,
Isn't that what you said? What,
Yeah.
well, the
15 minutes?
budgeting part
That's what
doesn't
I'm
need to be in the
recommending, Ardella.
motion.
Would you like to add the number to the motion? Agreed upon 2?
Yes, absolutely. Or we could just start with a new motion and include it all. That way it's not so jumbled up.
Well, I asked her to read the motion.
She already did.
I
So Ron, do you
understand that.
just want to rescind your motion and make a new one?
I think so.
Okay, here we go again.
It just makes it clear.
I got no problem with that. So are you making the motion?
Yeah.
I'll take mine off the table.
You don't have
Do
one.
you have a motion?
No,
out
I
there?
seconded it.
No.
Oh, okay. So, I just want to do a little math here. So typically, and before, or, you know, there's technically no motion out there. But I want you to look at the asterisk in paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4 down.
Their invoices rarely deviate from what was approved.
My motion was gonna include a dollar amount. And I'm just gonna say 19,000 per trip around. We're gonna multiply it by 2, so that's gonna be $38,000. That's what was gonna be included in my motion. And so that would give about a $1,100 leeway if they used 20 gallons rather than 15 gallons.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So then the motion would be motion authorizing the clerk and supervisor to sign the county road improvement agreement between the Grand Traverse County Road Commission and Whitewater Township in the amount of $38,000 for 2 brines on 20.86 miles of gravel road in Whitewater Township.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? I do have some. This year, last year, I think was the first year that they actually made us sign or initial the road list. And produced this year takes a different form than what we had last year. But it looks correct to me. And so
I honestly did not compare it to last year's list. So
I was just comparing the miles.
They're the exact same.
Yeah,
Well, no, wait a minute. No, they're not. Last year, it was 19.49 county maintained, non-county 1.65, undefined 0.5, total miles 21.64.
Did you take the middle, did they take the middle of Sand Mills out? Is that what's missing?
well, what Cheryl is saying that. Did you say 21.6 last year, Cheryl?
21.64.
So they actually added mileage. I don't know where they added it to.
this agreement says 20.86, not
Yeah.
21.
Not 20.6.
She said 21.
She did, she
I
said
did. I said
21.64.
21.6.
So it's less.
21.6, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. You know, I tried to argue with the last manager about Samuel's Road.
It looks like it worked.
Well, he's gone.
Yeah.
And this change came through, so
No, would that amount of Sand Mills be about 0.78? Of a
it's about a
mile?
half a mile. So
That's
that's
the
the
difference.
only
That's
other
the
discussion I
difference.
had.
That's the difference.
I think that it looks good to me. Roll call when ready.
Goss, yes. Glenn?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Pop?
Yes.
Bomuth?
Yes.
Number 5 already.
5 is done.
We
5 is
did,
done.
yeah. And so schedule ZA interviews work session to review ZA resumes and review fire chief's job description. Oh my God, sorry. I'll make a motion to schedule a work session to review ZA resumes.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Do we want to take this on to the 4th budget meeting since we're rolling right along, or no?
Well,
I don't, because we are already way too close to the public hearing date. I have to get the final numbers into the budget document. I've sent the ad, the legal notice to the papers, and I've said that the budget is going to be available on Friday, March 22nd, which is not very much time for the public to review the budget. And so I guess you guys can stay, but as soon as the budget work session is over and I have the final numbers, I'm not going to spend any more time looking over anything else. I have to get that document done and ready to be out here and on the website Friday morning.
So at last check, we have 4 applications. And so my thought is that we just pick a couple of days and we reach out to these 4 people and you know, there's say, this is the date we have open. I think we did that. I forget who it was. Was it the park manager?
Yep. Did the same thing.
So we set the date and we let them kind of set the time. So
And under new business number 7 that I added, this kind of goes along with that.
mhm.
That, you know, we may have more time if the board decides to do a month by month until this gets sorted out. So if we're looking at March, there's a possibility that we could do it in April too. Depending on what the board chooses to do with number 7.
So I don't see anything wrong with the week of March 25th. The 26th is a budget public hearing. That one's scheduled in the evening.
So what do you want to do? The one in the morning?
I know we don't like to have meetings on Mondays.
Honestly, I think we should do it after we're done with our budget public hearing, because you never know what's going to come up before then. When that's complete and final, I feel like we'll have something off our plate.
All right. I can.
So, I mean, you got
I
the
can support
27th,
that.
28th, 29th.
Now you're really procrastinating.
Well,
The 29th is Good Friday.
You got spring break and all that coming up in.
Well, you got
April.
spring break coming up on the 25th too. I mean, I'm just talking 2 days here.
I'm not gonna be available 27th or 28th and all the way through the following week.
okay.
So
It makes a
I'm not
difference.
either.
So then what about March 19th?
We already have a budget work session.
Yeah, but that,
We
we
have-
could easily incorporate interviews inside of a budget work session.
I don't know why I mean,
How much more of that budget's left? We're
That's not,
rolling right along. But go on.
We would all be here.
what about the 20th? I mean, it's just the very next day.
I mean, I could do it starting this week if Thursday, we had starting Thursday,
I
Thursday,
can sit
Friday,
here till
Monday,
quarter to
Tuesday,
11
Wednesday.
on Wednesday.
I don't know if that gives people enough time, if they're working, to get time off from work to come here for an interview.
well, no, we're just reviewing the resumes, I presume,
No,
to
this would
see
be an
who's
interview.
going to be.
This would be an interview.
I mean, we
We haven't
haven't
even seen the
gotten,
resumes yet. When are we going to get the resumes? I'd like to have those distributed to the entire board yet today. I think we need to see what's
So-
out there.
I could do this Thursday, the 14th after 3 p.m.
I won't be available.
That day wide open.
Ron, I haven't, to start interviewing, and I haven't had a chance to read through
Okay,
Four resumes.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm fine. I'm good.
Could you send us those resumes?
Yeah.
Later on today?
So you're not available the week of the 18th?
I am available the week of the
Okay.
18th, starting next week, Monday. Yeah, I'm,
I'm good
you
Monday.
know, other than
Tuesday.
the.
Monday morning at 8 AM is the oral argument in the lawsuit. I won't be available during that time.
Monday at 8 it is. Oh, you won't be available.
No, I intend to attend that hearing.
Don, would you be available on the 20th?
Yeah,
What you, Heidi?
Well, let me look.
I mean, I'm available on the 18th.
I'm
and
only
a
good
little
on
later in the
Wednesday
day on the
till
19th, because we have a
11:45.
meeting, the
I have
20th,
to work.
21st, and we have a meeting in the morning, and so.
Yeah, the 21st, I'm okay, but not the 20th at 11 to 5. And I'm closing, so I gotta open.
And I guess I'm of the opinion that if on the 19th, if somebody could interview at 10 AM and we're working on our budget, if we set that aside for 45 minutes or an hour, then we just pick up where we left off after that. So,
That's an idea.
I like it.
so I'm flexible that whole week of the 18th. Including Monday.
Good Monday. Monday, Tuesday, the only bad day for me is Wednesday at 11:45.
Okay, so what do you say we do Monday? The 18th? Let's do 11.
That's good. You said
We're
11?
setting Monday, we're setting 3/18 at 11 AM for what now?
Interviews, ZA interviews.
I don't know how long the oral argument's gonna go, so I can't say if I'll be here by 11 or not. Probably, but
Other one in on the 19th.
Yeah, we'll probably schedule 2 interviews for Monday.
Okay.
And then 2 for Tuesday, I would think.
Okay.
You know, Bob is one of the 4, so to interview him, it would probably work best on a Thursday. Right?
You sure?
So I'm thinking about him too.
So give them Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday?
Well, I was putting this date in my calendar and was gonna check what Thursday looked like for everybody of that date, of that week, excuse me.
Thursday's fine with me.
Thursday, the 21st.
Yeah,
I would suggest that we have to finalize the budget that day and that we should not be taking time out to do zoning administrator interviews on the drop dead date for getting the budget finalized.
Okay,
so with that thought in mind, we could make the budget drop dead date 19. So we gotta get, really, our general fund is done.
I was gonna say, how much more do we got?
So we have park recreation.
Everything but general and fire.
Well, we've been through fire cap.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, I think, relatively sorted out, halfway decent. Public improvement. That's a relatively simple account. I just don't see a lot of green.
Road fund, road repair replacement fund, park fund, rec fund, ambulance fund, public improvement, federal fund.
Well, your ambulance
Yeah, I
is
just
set
don't-
cost, so I don't know how that's not, why would that take a long
I
time?
don't see really. So we don't have to hold them on Thursday. I was just trying to be respectful of Bob's time, right?
Well, and
Well,
Bob works other places, so I don't know what his schedule is and
And that's
what
why
commitments he
Thursday
has.
would work out very good to interview Bob, for example, right?
So why don't we, because our budget meeting is in the morning, why don't we set it for,
I don't know why we're rushing so far into it. I mean, I mean,
we
you
haven't
know,
got to that.
Cause it still takes longer after you still got the
say we get the
interviews, then you
budget
have a
done and then
decision.
deal with it, but
I say we put it on the 21st and we make it later, not at 11, but maybe at 1.
Or anytime
noon.
Bob is convenient, anytime,
Yeah.
Bob might have a
I
full schedule on
I'm gonna
Thursday.
walk out of this meeting and I'm gonna generate special meeting notices. I need to know the date and the time and what is going to be on the special meeting agendas today.
So just out of curiosity, what is the state requirement for a notice of a special meeting? Do you know, Ardella?
Well, there's only 18 hours, but I'm
18
not going to
hours.
wait
Okay,
that amount
all
of
right.
time. I'm going to get it done. So it doesn't get forgotten. It's already the 12th. And you're talking about scheduling things that isn't even quite a week out. So pick 2 dates, pick 2 times and get after it.
3,
Do you see any reason why we couldn't accommodate Bob's schedule anytime during our budget
Well, the
discussion?
only thing is if we are posting that we are doing job interviews on the 21st and the 18th. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
18th? Then we're posting that's a public meeting.
Uh-huh.
And if we change the time during that day, the public may get upset that we've changed the time. Even if it is just to accommodate somebody coming in, you really have to say at 12 o'clock, we're going to be doing a job interview. At 9 to 11:59, we're doing budget work session.
So we handled that last time. And I believe it was with Park. In our notice, we said it was going to be between 9 and noon or 9 and 2. And so, again, thinking that we've got budget work, we could also then do that.
I think it's you're correct. It's how you word the notice.
Yes, yep. So I think some out of the box thinking there would get us by that concern.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so I say if everybody else is good, the 21st works good for, I assume Bob is gonna be here, right? We don't know that, but
He said he was working till the end of the month.
Well, we don't know what the other candidates' schedules
Yeah,
are like
and-
either,
yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yep.
we're kind of trying to pigeonhole them into a certain date even, and that may not work for them.
This gives them an option of,
We haven't
3
really
days.
handled it this way before. We've already always had picked a couple days, but no times, and then you contacted the candidates to find out
So
what times
I
work
make
for
a
them.
motion that we have ZA interviews beginning March 18th at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we will have ZA interviews March 21st, beginning at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Nothing on the 19th.
I'll second that motion.
What was the 19th?
Tuesday, the other budget meeting, I do believe.
It was, yeah. And so to address Cheryl's concern and keep Bob's current schedule in mind, I left the 19th budget session as kind of our
Complete it.
drop dead
Okay.
date. So if we ran long on that budget on the 19th, then we've got a little bit of time left on Thursday. Does that seem reasonable? So that's a motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Pop. Go ahead.
Yes.
Goss, no. Bellmuth,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
So this business item was actually two pieces, or it became two pieces. And so I'm gonna make a motion that on the same dates that we just, dates and times that we just approved, that we look over the fire chief job description, which apparently we don't have, but it's in the ordinance. I get it. And then we have a member of the community who wants to step forward and pick up this post. Chief Flynn has written a letter of support.
Is this part of the motion?
No, this is the second part of business item six.
No, I get it, but you said motion that on the same dates and times, so I'm wondering where the motion ended and your comments began.
We said we'll need another motion, I think you said,
Well,
but okay.
I don't know.
You said motion that on the same dates and times that we just approved, that we look over the fire chief job description in the ordinance. And then we have a member of the community who wants to step forward and pick up this post. Chief Lynn has written a letter of support. Is that all part of the motion?
Did anybody hear me say I make a motion?
You did. That's why I started typing.
Oh,
What is the point of this paragraph here? Is this to make an action item? Is that what I want to know?
what's that?
Where it starts out, please bring your calendars. And it talks about the fire chief job description. Are you looking to do an action item here? Because if there is, all Goss is saying is that we have to start it with a motion. Motion to discuss, motion to do.
No,
Whatever.
I didn't say you have to start it with a motion. He made a motion. And I'm just wondering, it sounds like it's
thought you
comments
said
now,
in keeping
so I don't know
with
where
the
the motion
motion, but-
ends.
I withdraw my motion.
And
I. Nope. I got nothing.
okay, then let's just go home.
No, I'm cold.
I know you are. I'm having a hot
I'm
pack in my
struggling.
hands, so I get it.
Okay, well, then we'll move on.
Now, I had one question, but apparently we can't discuss it, so I'll make a motion to discuss the topic of the fire chief's job description and possible interviews.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Now I have a question. To finish what you started, you said that we've been presented with a resume from the chief. But my question would be for the fire chief job or for interim fire chief? Because it's two different entities. If you have another job, you have to quit. So my question is this for an intern, temporary, or the chief job?
If I said those words, I stand corrected. Chief had provided a letter of support for an internal member of the fire department who is interested in taking over the chief's post. That's what I meant to say if
What
I
you,
didn't.
that's what you did say.
Okay. So resume should come, right? And Josh has provided that to me yesterday or the day before.
Could you forward that to us, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But then Ardella kind of said something. I don't remember if it's when Chief Flynn first announced that we should throw this particular post out to advertise and see what's out there.
And the
Now,
reason
I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but that's what I remember. And so where does the board sit with elevating somebody from within up over advertising the post?
I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in everything. However, how we got Chief Flynn was going through the
Yeah,
process.
that's what I was thinking.
And if we had not gone through the process, we wouldn't have had the awesome employee that we had for 6 years. We wouldn't have. And I have concerns about promoting from within only because of my experience of people being promoted from within. I'm not saying that he is not going to be a good fire chief. I'm not saying that Chief Flynn's recommendation is wrong. It may very well be 100% spot on. I'm just saying that we're not giving ourselves any options if that's the only thing we do. And I fully understand that he is not going to quit a job he has for an interim position that we're asking him to be full-time interim. You know, I understand that. I mean, are we missing the boat on him? I don't know.
Still
So-
have to look it up. You still can't close yourself in a box when you do that. You're not looking at all your possibilities, so I'm not a
It's
firm believer
interesting,
in that.
Ardella. I've got this feeling from two different people now.
What's that?
When did the interim chief require you
Hold on.
not to be employed some other place?
Well, I guess what I'm referring to is the fact that right now we have a full-time chief. If he takes over for interim, does he have to be full-time? I think that's your question.
It is. And two people have come up to me and said kind of what you said. And I'm thinking, interim, we've only used it once that I can remember on this board. Matter of fact, I think we created it on this board. And I believe that interim chief was Captain Arbanowski, who was a full-time employee at the post office.
That's what I got when I did my homework.
And so I wondered why this transition of interim chief went from somebody who was really just, trying to float us through to buy us the time to do this search. That's what I was wondering. I wouldn't expect anybody to quit their full-time job
For a possibility.
for a possibility.
I wouldn't either.
Believe it or not, I have heard many gainfully employed people send out resumes to other companies.
Whenever they feel like it, as long as they don't have a clause.
And so that happens all the time. Why would this be any different?
To be honest with you, I completely forgot about Tim stepping up
And,
during that transition. I had forgotten about that.
if we had a little more time, I'm sorry, go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, the only issue is that Tim slept during the day because he worked at night and was not responding. We had no one
We're getting too
responding,
deep
and
here. Getting too deep.
As of April 1st, we will have no one responding again to traffic
Technically,
accidents.
we will have response because the chief is still a fireman. So someone in that house
Well, but
has to
he's
take
not-
the rank.
Well, but
It's a tag situation, Cheryl. You arrive on the scene.
none of
you
the
could be
other
IC.
people respond during the day. That's
They
why
work outside
chief
of
has
this
been
community as well.
overburdened, and we
Wow.
don't know what the chief's plans are. He has said that he will stay on as a firefighter, but that doesn't obligate him to respond
Can I ask the chief a question
during the
here?
call, during the day.
Brandon, the phone rings and you're incapacitated. What happens?
What do you mean incapacity? I can't answer it.
You can answer it. You can answer it. You can only watch it ring. I want to hear what happens.
It goes, the answering machine answers it.
Then what? 911, what do? They go to the next, I need an ambulance, or let's say I need a fire truck in Whitewater. The phone goes unanswered. What does the 911 operator do? Does she, what? I have a feeling I know what she does, but I want to hear it from you.
Like, are you talking about when they dispatch us for an emergency call?
Yep.
Okay.
The phone rings. It's an
Yeah, we don't
emergency.
get emergency calls by phone, so I'm a little confused.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your pager, your radio, your tone goes off, okay? I can use those expressions too, but I was trying to leave it so the public got it stupid or simple, but call goes out. We got a fire in Whitewater. Now what?
They send the next closest agency.
At the time, correct? Not the most distant closest, who's ever the closest and available, correct?
Yes.
So if you have a department and he is incapacitated, he's supposed to change. Do you not rotate your personnel when you know you're incapacitated? Like, let's say you're gonna be on vacation and you're gonna be in China. I'm just using it as an example. You're gonna be way across on the other side of the world. Do you leave someone in command?
I don't rotate personnel. I've never heard of that, but
The question is, do you leave someone in command?
I don't specifically, because everybody has full-time jobs and we don't know when the calls are coming in. I tell everybody.
So no one steps up.
I tell
Okay.
everybody that I'm leaving. And we all kind of do that. Like if Nick was at a conference all last week, so he told us I'm gonna be gone all week last week. So
I get when you know your schedule, but when you don't know your schedule.
I'm not
that's
sure
where I
why
was
we're
getting
asking
at.
this though. Heidi. I'm
Because
not
nor-
sure why we're spending time on
I'm
this.
trying to figure out the chain of command here.
Well, you can do
apparently we
that
don't have
after a
it.
meeting, right?
Apparently, we don't have any.
Well,
Heidi, that is not a fair statement.
Okay,
You
it's
should
not,
Spout out like that.
Hold on,
okay.
Hold on. Chief Flynn has graciously been telling the board that he's the only responder for 5 years, I'll bet.
Years.
For 5 years. We have done nothing. Okay?
That's what I was
So-
getting at.
So this is not a chain of command issue. This is a board issue. And I think we made good steps this year, potentially, in the fire department budget to try and correct that. But as we see, it's late. That's all there is to it. So moving forward, how do we get an interim chief? And I believe our conversation was, I don't think the interim chief is going to be there full time. I think the interim chief, and again, to my recollection, we've only used it once. Tim Arbanowski kept the administrative side of things happening. And so.
That's all you really need if you already aren't responding. So all you need to do is day-to-day operations because you're not putting anybody in command, so. Because you don't have anybody, obviously, to put in command, so.
Well,
Okay.
obviously, Heidi, if we're doing an interim chief, that person is in command.
Correct.
Agreed. I agree with that statement, Della. And the duties of this person would be, like Heidi said, is to kind of keep the day-to-day operations afloat. So, I'm not trying to minimize what you do, Brandon, but somebody's got to make a
wasn't
training.
either.
Somebody's got to make a training schedule out. Somebody's got to get payroll in, that type of thing, right? The response side, which is Cheryl's point, is, sadly, there isn't going to be anybody here to do that. But we as a board have been told by that man over there, Brandon Flynn, for more than 4 years, that this day could come.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're not going to have anybody to respond.
So do you have a motion, Ron?
I believe there is a motion on the table.
There was a motion to discuss the topic of the fire chief's job description and possible interviews.
I didn't catch that last one, sorry.
Job description and interviews.
So
So,
probably need to figure out what if we're just gonna have a chief and run like we do. Or if we're gonna develop some kind of. Man, it's a command system, but somebody has to play the role.
Changes to the so-called job description, which exists in a general ordinance, can only be made after public hearing and adoption of a revised ordinance or a new ordinance.
Do we currently have a
It won't
job
be a quick
description?
process.
Do we currently have a job description for an interim fire chief?
I don't recall
Because
that we
we-
do, but I'd have to look.
We obviously hired,
I believe we do. I believe I looked at that and, oh, wrong folder.
We set a pay rate at one time.
I'm not coming up with it right away.
well, we've done this in the past, obviously with Tim Arbanowski.
I believe he was our interim chief. Yes. Yep. So rural has had an interim fire chief. Maybe that's what I'm recalling.
All I could find was rural and metro when I started looking backwards.
And so that could be dusted off.
I just don't see us having a lot of time here to create new job descriptions and, I mean, if there's something you don't want an interim chief to do, such as hold standard hours at the station, could you not just make a motion that they would follow the job description, Xing out X, A, B, and C? And, do you know what I'm saying, Don? You're looking a little confused.
I'm listening. I just, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously we're not going to request that an interim fire chief hold station hours during the day. It's not gonna happen. So if you look at the current fire chief's job description, there's certain things that would not apply, just exclude those and move forward. Because we don't have a lot of time to go through the accepting and making of a new job description. We probably should put that in later, but at this point,
Along that line, Ardella, we know that we paid people to be an interim chief before.
yep.
Knowing this board, we had to have a job description
That's
for an interim chief.
looking for.
But that happened when we were this board was fairly new. So I don't know, maybe we didn't. And if we did, shouldn't it be in a policy book or something?
It should be. Yes, it should be.
So,
But I'm not coming up with,
I mean, we can always look back at the
I don't
board.
recall ever adopting an interim fire chief job description, but
Right,
you know, the minutes way back when we appointed one would say whether there was a job description or not.
right. So we could go back. and look at the
Tim had been
minutes.
here a long time and I think it was just assumed he knew what to do.
Right.
and that could
There's that
very well
word.
be.
There's
Yeah.
that word, assume.
Well, we may have used some of the things from rural, but I don't think we ever adopted a job description as a board. And that's even considering if the person that wants to be or is asking to be elevated from within would accept the additional duties on a temporary basis.
Yeah, because now he's gonna be working 2 jobs at once.
I think with the
His
fire department, you are already working 2 jobs.
Well, you are, but sometimes your employer doesn't see it that way.
So the last paragraph of my memo does state that Josh is interested. If the township board decides to reach out and post the job, then he is interested in the interim fire chief position.
And more than likely, he will be applying for the actual position.
Yes. most likely.
So it sounds to me like a win-win thing here.
I think so. All we would potentially have to do is come up with, an interim job description.
I don't know we have time for that. If we agree, it might be easier, like I said, Ron, to look at the fire chief's job description and take out certain things that is not going to be his responsibility.
Will it be the same?
Yeah,
He'd
He's just
have
not a
to.
full-time employee. and he
right.
wouldn't-
In the job description, I can't remember, I don't have it in front of me.
So it's not an actual job description. It's in the ordinance. And I know,
It's a general ordinance.
for the life of me, I do not recall that in there. I would have,
I could go get it out of my car.
at any rate. Job description, I don't think should be in an ordinance, but it is.
I don't believe the township attorney drew it up.
Right? Everybody says bylaws.
Mhm.
Gotta have an
I
interesting
think
read.
our
that
thinking
zoning
of
ordinance.
putting the job description in the ordinance was so that future boards would see what we set down as the standard. And then if they needed to change it, they could, but it was there. Wasn't in a policy book, maybe, or maybe not. I think that was our reasoning, and I still find it a sound reasoning.
It's in my policy.
It's just like an ordinance enforcement officer is supposed to be done by ordinance.
So we've discussed it.
So Chief, you just said that you have a job description in your policy manual,
Mhm.
and how does that differ from, is it
It's- I
different?
cut and pasted that thing.
It, from the ordinance?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we adopted it as our policy
Within the fire department
within.
for their policy. book.
Yeah, I just,
So that may be something you could use.
Could you
Just
send us
come
a
up with the
copy of
job
that,
description
please?
Quickly.
And it doesn't say he's full-time position, I don't recall.
that's 40-04. Is that correct?
That's an
Is
ordinance.
that the ordinance number?
I think it's 50, right?
No, that's a really old ordinance. That was some
See,
ordinance
this
that
is
was
what I'm
done way
afraid of.
before we got here. I don't know what ordinance number it is. It's somewhere in the fifties or something like that, I think.
Oh, maybe it replaced 4004.
But the chief could provide his, I mean, I guess we need to see the ordinance, but
Yeah.
if he's got something in his policy that's a little more succinct, because obviously there's things in the ordinance that don't apply just to the chief's position. It was the establishment of the department.
Right, but he
But
said
it's
he took
also
it directly
precedent to
from.
what
the
No,
they've
that's
been
what I'm getting
following.
at. It's probably more succinct. And, you know, I mean, you don't want to put an ordinance out there to take applications for a fire chief. You want to have something that is,
So could
gets
we,
to the point.
or is you're thinking that we're gonna add it to one of these upcoming meetings we have, or?
Well, you know, this is a late blooming story, right? And I heard what you had to say verbally that we should go out, and I'm thinking, yeah, gee, we don't have the time. And then we get this person from inside who wants to elevate. I'm thinking convenience, but I don't really have any preconceived thoughts here. It's ordinance 57, which
Yep.
replaced 40-06.
So, and the other thing,
General ordinance.
Yeah, okay, because I see two, general ordinance number 52 by Whitewater Fire Department effective 4/1/2018. And then
That's
there's
the
a-
one.
Then an ordinance
Oh.
57 is a fire prevention.
Prevention, you gotta look at
That's-
both of them. They're
that's-
completely
that's How come I
different.
don't remember the job description? And I think there. the job description is in 52.
52.
It's in the one that
52.
was effective 4/1/18 because the rural dissolution happened 3/31.
So they're slightly different.
Yeah.
I don't recall a job description in 57.
No, there
that's the
isn't, because
prevention.
that doesn't deal with the establishment of the department. That's a fire prevention ordinance that
Dad,
updated
don't
The
feel
only reason
bad.
I said-
old ordinance.
The only reason I said that, Cheryl, somebody had mentioned that there was an update, and I'm saying that the one in 2020 is not an update to the.
No,
2018.
no,
That- that's the reason
there's
I
no
said it,
update.
yeah.
I don't know who said that, but that's incorrect information. The Whitewater Township Fire Department ordinance that was effective 4/1/18 has not been modified since it was adopted.
Chief, can I see what you have in your policy book, please?
He
Since
doesn't
you
have
cut
it
and
here,
pasted it,
right?
whatever.
I can send
Just
it
send
out.
it to me, please. I'd appreciate it.
So back to the business item, and then probably closer to the motion, hopefully. I'm hearing that the board wants to advertise this position.
Yes.
Yes, I'm on board with that.
But in the meantime, maybe we should interview the gentleman that wants to be the interim chief, because he's gonna have to interview too. But at least you would know that you had somebody that might answer the phone, but at least will run your day-to-day operations from his other job probably. But I don't know what his other job is. If he can work with a phone and a computer, he might be able to do both jobs at once.
I'm not sure what that has to do with it, because as Chief indicated, there aren't any tones that are transmitted
Right.
via telephone or a
Well,
I mean pager. They all got pagers or a radio on them. So whatever way they're toned out.
And I don't think our last interim chief carried the radio in the US Post Office. I'm not even sure we had 800 megahertz radios then.
No, you probably. had
Well, why
regular
would he
radios.
carry it at work?
I
He's just
did.
the interim chief.
I did
He
as
wouldn't
the
carry it at his
emergency
day
manager.
job.
Yeah,
No.
so I don't
Tim
think,
wasn't able to respond either, so.
I don't think that's a criteria for an interim chief. I don't think it's a criteria for the chief to respond. So I'm hearing that we're gonna advertise the position. And then are we going to create the interim chief? Or in the interest of time, what is your suggestion there, Ardella?
Well, I'm trying to put together a motion here.
Okay,
And my motion is to appoint Josh Morgan as recommend, I mean, I'm writing it out. The only thing I'm stuck on is what we're gonna pay him.
okay, so
So
before we make that motion,
that's
I
why
can't
I'm
make
try to
that
work it
motion
out.
Without looking at a
I can't
resume.
support that motion until we review his actual credentials.
an interview.
So I know for a fact,
Well, what
That-
I'm putting on here is dates from, and it would be ending or starting, I should say, the day that is chief's last day. So we have time to look at that. I don't see us with a lot of options here, people. So if we're talking about just doing interviews and stuff, then what's the point of doing the interim? The interim is a stopgap.
No, I'm suggesting that for the interim position, that we get Josh's resume and schedule an interview with him to talk this through with him.
On the 18th or
And I'm saying
21st.
that's separate part and parcel to going out on a search.
Well, Della, we really are going to be forced to do an interim fire chief position because there's many, many things that are going to have to be dealt with before a new chief is hired. Chief among them being that somebody's got to keep track of all the training time, the response time, get that payroll paperwork over here so people can be paid, so they continue to work for Whitewater Township Fire Department. There's gonna be stuff that's ordered that's coming in. There's gonna be stuff that needs to be ordered and followed up on. We are not going to be able to just have a vacuum of leadership at the fire department while we put out an ad for fire chief and give people time to provide applications and then interview them and all that. Otherwise the department's gonna fall apart.
Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that you agree we need an interim fire person that's going to take over for the chief.
We need a body.
Right, and we need the body before the chief leaves us. Correct?
We need to
We
interview that-
we
they
need
need
that
to interview
person
that body.
effective 4/1 at the latest.
This should not be this hard, people. And
No,
it's,
it shouldn't.
and I'm getting just this much frustrated with it. If you want to do an interview with him, a one-on-one speak with him before we do this interim thing, then we have a very short window. We need to look at our calendars right now and decide what date we're gonna ask him to come in on, and keeping in mind, he works during the day.
Yep.
Chief, is there another post available? Or could Josh remain the training officer and complete these duties of interim chief until, say, like June 1? And the reason I ask is for proper certification, right? I don't think Josh meets the current criteria for the state of Michigan. So he does.
the state of Michigan gives you 36 months to get all of your certifications. In fact, if
Okay.
you don't even have fire officer or firefighter 1 and 2.
Okay,
Like if you guys hired someone from out of state and they have no Michigan State credentials, they give you 4 years to get all those.
gotcha.
So right now, I don't know why you would want to bring him in and interview him and delay this process. You know, I've kind of already done all that for you guys. And he's the only one that we have available interested in doing this.
So the fact that he hasn't written all of the exams, he's really got a window of time to complete that.
36 months,
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
state of Michigan.
How much ICS and NIMS does he have? Which is National Incident Management System, Incident Command. Do you
I
know?
know what all that is.
Does he have 300 and 400?
He does.
Why are you laughing, Cheryl? This is not funny. I'm asking a question. Cheryl, how much do you have?
He does not have ICS 400 yet.
Ooh. Is he in a class to take it soon?
He can be, but it's not offered very frequently.
I understand that.
You gotta remember, we go on like 113 calls a year. So, ICS 400 is not state required. That's a requirement by the federal government. And even a lot of smaller departments, they don't have their chief officers even have it. It's like- but
It's optional.
It's,
Ooh, I wouldn't say it's optional. It's attached to grants, but
well,
okay.
yeah, you're not eligible to receive federal grants if you don't have it.
Oh, I see.
But
Thank you.
if you don't want a federal grant, which is a huge headache, we all know that, right? Federal grants, administering federal grants is a huge headache. And sometimes we learned with the ARPA funds that some communities won't even accept it. because of that. And, so yeah, technically it's an option.
Ooh, I
So-
wonder if that's attached to the.
Learning from chief that we have a window of opportunity. Why couldn't we schedule an interview? And I think we do need to go through the process, chief. I will graciously disagree there. Because the board has not seen this person at all.
Right.
We didn't require you to bring him forward, which I think is should be under review.
Seen him several times over here.
Right, but not all board members have, and
Right.
yeah.
What I'm
we-
saying is that when these guys get onboarded, they should be here. And if we have to change our meeting to do so, then to make it at night, then we should do that out of respect for the fire personnel, okay? That's all I'm saying, and that's a discussion for a different day. So why couldn't we see if Josh is available either on the 18th or the 21st, and then God forbid, the 26th at 7 PM, because we're all going to be here.
Well, we're supposed to be.
We hope to be.
Supposed to be.
And I wouldn't be opposed to, working around his current work schedule, just so everybody can have his resume and meet him. Excuse me.
I'm on board with that.
You as well?
I'm good.
What day are we gonna do this? I heard a couple different dates. Are you gonna offer one to him? I mean, I'm trying to get a special meeting notice done. So when are we gonna know when he's available?
Well, I think that, first of all, I don't think we can assign a person a job without them being here, right? So we should have him here. And in the interim, we can get his resume out to all board members. We can do a cut and paste of ordinance 52. and say, you know, these are the interim job duties, and here we go, right?
Right.
And so if that's what we decide to do, then your question was, Ardella, what is the pay? Okay, and I think that's a great question. I don't know. I heard somebody say average fire chief wage in the state of Michigan is around $86,000.
It's lieutenant too.
Chief isn't at that yet, and he's been with us for 6 years.
Yeah, but I think what solution is to break down what his salary is and put it in a per hour. And whatever hours he puts in is what he'll get paid. That way it's still getting paid chief wages.
I'm going to vehemently disagree with that because I do not want to pay fire chief by the hour.
Why not?
Oh my God, you could be paying him for 2 days.
You'd be in debt.
Well, currently the.
We are in
interim-
debt. I'm sorry,
The
we are in
interim
debt.
fire chief wage, because this hasn't been adjusted because the township hasn't utilized that position, but adopted in this year's salary wage schedule, the interim fire chief is an hourly position at $18 an hour. Once again, that hasn't been used.
My apologies, Ardella. I was thinking fire chief, not interim. My mistake. My
Well,
mistake.
I was saying fire chief.
Okay,
So
All right.
whatever it is an hour.
yeah,
Should be
so
around 38 to
I
42.
mean, isn't that what we're asking him to do?
you were saying take chief's current wage, break it down into an hourly number, and then that's what the interim chief would be paid.
That's what I,
Okay, all right.
Was
I
saying.
was on a completely different highway.
oh, okay.
Yep. So in our budget documents, if anybody has those electronically handy, what is being proposed for the next budget year at the interim fire chief is $21.20 an hour. Which I don't think we're gonna get it. You know, that was based on an $18 an hour number that we had discussed. I think with Tim and Dave and Nick all here in one meeting, you know, we kind of said, what are you looking for? And they weren't really looking to make a career out of it, so it was some nominal number. So that's my recollection of how we arrived at $18 an hour. If anybody remembers something different, please share. So the 2120 that we're currently at or proposed to be at in the next fiscal year will have to be addressed.
That's half. Half of what a lieutenant makes.
What is the current chief salary?
Current is 67,474.
That doesn't even meet.
So here's an argument that we've had, or discussion that we've had several times at the board level. How do you bring somebody new in at the same wage as the outgoing guy that's got all of the experience?
Mhm. Just like the hamburger flipper who's making $22 an hour, but
Well, I think
he's-
probably the candidate needs to be asked what his minimum salary requirements are.
usually done in negotiations.
Yeah, and I think all that could be gleaned.
Number two. I'm sorry. I was doing some math over there.
Okay, so if you take the fire chief's wage divided by 52 weeks, divide that by that number by 40-hour work week to come up with a dollar out an hour,
Mhm.
it's $32.44 an hour. I rounded up.
Yep, yep. And I went to 70 and did the same math.
Yeah.
So I come up with a $33 number. I think that's a reasonable ask. right?
I do too.
I think that's a reasonable ask. Our emergency services are understaffed and underpaid. And we just need
Can
to.
make it really hard trying to get somebody to do it.
So to me, the 32, 33, I don't have a problem with the 33. An hour is what we should be offering for the intern. And if we need to make that change in our wage scale, so be it.
But there is something, I think Cheryl said it, they should be telling us. And I do like that approach.
Yeah, but this is how we budget.
Oh, understood. Yeah, budget, I say we just leave the chief's number in there.
Chief's number, yeah, I'm talking about on the wage scale for the intern.
Okay.
I think.
Interim. He's
Well,
not
yeah,
an
that needs to
intern, he's
be
an interim.
Fixed. It's it is a document we do adopt at the budget public hearing.
Right.
But that can be changed, can't it? Even after the budget public hearing? We would need to have another hearing, on it, right?
Well, no. Revise those numbers before without a public hearing, but why wouldn't you just do it if you're gonna have somebody that you're trying to get in there by?
Because we may not
For
have
one.
the questions answered. This whole idea of
Aren't we
doing
gonna talk to
policy during
him
budget
soon here?
is wrong.
Sometimes it can't be avoided because it comes up during budget, when things have
Well,
to
it sounds
change.
like we're gonna be meeting with him before the budget is finalized. So,
So thinking about Cheryl's notice that she has to get out. And we don't have Josh present. Is there something wrong with including the notice on all three of those dates that I listed? I'm sorry. Is there anything wrong with including this business item on those three dates, 18, 21, and 26?
Are we gonna be sitting here all day or will you have appointments so we can be moving around the country when nobody's here?
I'm not sure I understand the
Okay,
question.
you said March 18th, 11 PM to 4 PM. So we're gonna sit here from 11 PM to 4 PM, correct?
Which is also a budget meeting.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Monday, the 18th is not a
Correct.
budget meeting.
Chief, do you have
But-
the ability to reach out to Josh to find out if he can be available via text or something?
Yes.
Maybe that'll help.
He might even be on here. We have a resident.
Thinking about that, Heidi, your question. In the notice for 318, this include budget work session. So we can get stuff accomplished and not just be waiting around here.
Might make the next day a lot
It
shorter.
might make the next day a lot shorter.
Cheryl, you would have to
Okay.
oh yeah, I'm gonna have to renotice all these dates for sure.
Okay, now Cheryl said she wasn't gonna be
So-
here on Monday. Will your
In the
secretary be
morning.
taking your minutes?
in the morning. She said in the morning she couldn't be here.
I will be here after the hearing is over with.
It's
That's-
online.
That's why we did, yeah, but you
I
can't.
get it. I've already saved the link, but I intend to attend in person.
Well, that's your prerogative.
It is.
Okay, will your deputy clerk be
have your
taking
meeting.
your minutes?
Trees doesn't work on Mondays.
But our ZA interview meetings are not starting until 11,
At the soonest.
right? So if we start our meetings at 11,
Can Therese be here or somebody be here to take minutes?
that's what I'm saying, Cheryl will
Okay,
be back.
first of all, right now, I want to know on 318, the agenda items are,
Because the incompetent person might not be here to take the minutes.
the agenda items are
What did you say?
You heard me. If I was told
Why do you-
incompetent, because she told me in a meeting that I couldn't even defend myself that I was incompetent. So I want to make sure the minutes are covered before we schedule any of these meetings. Or you can take the minutes.
I don't sit here
Okay,
and call people
ZA
incompetent
interviews,
that aren't
the
here to
agenda
defend
items on
themselves.
three
But
I didn't
Cheryl
say
eighteen.
you
You should
did,
not either.
But Cheryl did.
but Cheryl
She
did.
was
I wasn't
not
even
called.
here. So the minutes, if she's not gonna be at a meeting,
Okay, the agenda items on 318 are zoning administrator interviews and interim fire chief interview? Or how do you want to term it? I'm asking.
You said you wanted to add budget to it.
Yeah, but I think she's working down a list, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to come up
Yeah.
with a list.
And so I think the interim fire chief, let's call it an interview, right? Because that's really what it's going to be.
Okay.
Okay, so it's zoning administrator interviews, interim fire chief interview, and budget work session.
All funds. So we can work on our stuff in between times.
Okay, on 321,
Potentially the same list.
and that's a 9 AM meeting.
I think that's already set, right?
Yeah, it is, but I have to
321
renotice it. The agenda items that day are zoning administrator interviews and budget work session.
And fire chief.
And intern fire.
Interim fire chief.
Okay, we're gonna,
Josh can't make the 8th.
okay. Interim fire chief interview. Budget work session, all funds. And on 321, 326, because there's gonna be a lot of agenda items that day. On 326 at 7 PM. Um. What's gonna be on that day besides the budget public hearing? On 326? Anything?
Let's throw in a
being
budget
added.
work session.
then why don't you just
We're
throw
not gonna have
in
a
any
budget work session
decisions?
that day.
How about you throw in any decisions to be made versus the ZO or the fire chief, if available?
Oh, that's a good idea, Heidi.
Mhm. We have way too many meetings.
Well, I think you'd be doing the budget public hearing first because the notices have that set for
Depends how you
9
set your
o'clock.
agenda.
So
The notices
decisions,
should have it set for 7 o'clock.
well, yeah, 7 PM.
Okay.
Right, right. Okay, decision on zoning administrator and interim fire chief?
That should probably be on all of them, come to think about it. Not just interviews, but of course, if you're interviewing, I suppose you could
Well, you
make a
can't-
job.
Go ahead.
I suppose you could make a job interview after. No, I suppose you could make a job offer after completing an interview with someone.
Mhm.
Does that seem within the realm of the board? Or do you think that needs to be a noticed item, Cheryl? That we would be selecting either a ZA or a fire chief?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
So to amend your list, could we put interview and possible job offer?
On what day? Or days?
I'm thinking this would be just standard language across all three of the meetings that we're talking about. How could we work? If
Well,
the
it
board,
depends. Can I just interject? If we can find out from Josh, if
Josh can be here on the 18th, then I think you could amend that notice to be potential job offering, because there's one candidate that you're interviewing for this, and we want to talk through and just get to know. The ZA side of it, you're not gonna, if you're gonna do it Monday and Thursday, you're not gonna do job offers on Monday. It'll be sometime Thursday after all the candidates have been interviewed.
Gotcha.
But if Josh, and the way you can cover that, even though we haven't heard from Josh, is do an interim fire chief interview and possible job offer on the 18th and also on the 21st, just because we don't know his schedule.
And the 26th. And I'm just saying we keep all three of the meetings the same.
Yeah. And then
Right, with the
it
language.
gives you the option to get it done at any point in time. The ZA, we know the ZA one is not going to take place before
Monday.
Before yeah, it's not gonna happen on Monday because you're gonna have interviews on the 21st. So the soonest it's gonna happen is either the 21st or the 26th.
So then I say we add that language to 21 and 26.
So
to give us that flexibility. And if we're not ready as a board to make that decision, then we
Blow
won't,
it off. You know,
Yeah.
you can just forward it onto another agenda too.
make that decision.
Okay, so here's what I have for the agendas. On 318, zoning administrator interviews, that's number 1. Number 2, interim fire chief interview / possible job offer. Number 3, budget work session, all funds. On 321 at 9 a.m., number 1, zoning administrator interviews / possible job offer. Number 2, interim fire chief interview / possible job offer. Number 3, budget work session, all funds. On 326 at 7 p.m., budget public hearing. There will be many other agenda items in that because of the resolutions and whatnot. And then number 2, maybe I'm going to have to get some of those out and list those. But number 2 for right now, zoning administrator interview / possible job offer. Number 3, interim fire chief interview / possible job offer.
The only thing I don't see there, well, never mind, I take that back. I thought that Josh would be, I thought we would be done with interviews by the 21st. And the reason I say on the 26th would be possible job offers, because we would be done. Because if we're gonna do the 4 ZAs between the 18th and the 21st, and Josh assumed the 18th or the 21st, then the only thing that's left hanging outside the public hearing is if we haven't made a decision on the ZA
Or it gives an extra day for Josh to be available.
Yes, yeah, good point. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you might be introducing him to the public by then. You
Never
don't
mind my
know.
comments, Cheryl.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, but I'm totally with you there. Everybody happy with that motion?
I don't think that's a motion.
Oh, okay.
The last motion, which hasn't been voted on, was to discuss the topic of the fire chief's job description and possible interviews.
It never got voted on.
Okay. Motion, who seconded it?
I did, and I think we were in discussion. That's why there was no vote.
So then let's vote on discussing it. Roll call when ready.
Vomit,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
And Cheryl, would you make the motion
with respect to what's going to happen on 3/18, 3/21, 3/26, because you already have it typed out.
You want me to make the motion?
Well, you have it typed out, so it.
Well, I'm not gonna
make-
put all that in the motion. I'm gonna summarize it. Motion by Goss to amend 3/18, 3/21, and 3/26 meeting notices as set forth above. That's my motion.
I'll second it. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Goss, yes. Falmouth,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Hop,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Okay. And Ardella, you wanted to add a new business item extension for ZA.
I do.
Okay,
So I have a motion. Motion is to extend the current ZA contract to a month-to-month until the ZBA position has been,
ZA.
the ZA, sorry, position is decided.
Or has been filled.
Phil decided, don't really care.
Well, you want to put.
Current contract would imply everything that's already motion.
I get that, but if you're going month to month, let's say the new person can't start till June 1st. I'm just giving you a scenario.
Well, then
That's
it
why
would be
Phil-
ending in June 1st.
Okay.
When the new person takes over, it's just a stopgap. So that our citizens don't go without somebody.
Correct, I get that. But what I was trying was making sure there wasn't a.
I mean,
overlap instead of.
right, we very well could be at the end of March, all decided, all done, all over. But if we're not, this just gives us time.
To
Which,
keep it covered, so. they
correct.
Butt up and overlap each
Yep,
other.
and I have,
Is there a
I
second
have
on this?
spoke, oh, yeah. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. I started talking. Go ahead.
I have talked to Bob and he said that he is willing to do that. If we decide this today, we just need to reach out and let him know.
He said in the planning commission that he wants to have a conversation. So I don't know if that's the conversation he was talking about, or he
Well,
wants a
I knew I was coming
conversation
in
with
here
the
today
board.
to make this
I
motion.
understand
So I
that.
reached out to
I
him.
understand that.
Well,
Since the planning commission meeting.
yeah, I didn't know anything about the planning commission meeting.
Okay, so it was before or after, who knows? But the plan commission meeting, he kind of said the same thing, but he said he was open for a conversation. Now, I don't know if that meant with you, with her, with Don, with the supervisor, or myself. So that's where he left it. That he
All
was open
independent.
for the, go ahead.
All independent contractors work for the board.
Yep.
Okay,
I understand that. Thus, my comment.
So my comment is that I'm the one that reached out to him to ask if this, I mean, why put this motion out if he's not willing to entertain it? And that's why I reached out, because I want to be able to give some idea of you guys if he's open to it or not.
so the only question I have about your motion, and as I wrote it down, which could be incorrect, motion to extend the current ZA contract
To a
on a month-to-month basis.
month to month.
So I don't think you can extend that contract the way it's written on a month-to-month basis. There's a couple of provisions in there that would not allow that.
Like what?
It's near the end that when there's really no end to his current contract.
That's how
He
I saw
ended
it.
the contract when he made the statement that March 31st would be his last day. Other than that, there is no termination clause in that agreement. And we had an oversight. We didn't have Don on the board when that original agreement was considered. And I don't think it went to legal. Maybe it did, but there's no termination clause in there.
Zero.
So rewording the motion, talking about rates and provisions and things like that, I would be supportive of that. But the words current ZA contract, I could not support.
If the only issue actually is that there is no end date in the first contract, I'm not seeing that as anything that's gonna stop us. We're gonna pay him the same amount. We're gonna require him to be here in the building and to take the calls from the citizens the same way he's always doing. We're not asking him to change the job. We're asking him to continue the job until the interviews are over and we've decided what we want to do. So I don't see, my intention was not to change the rate. My intention was not to change the job description. My intention was to extend this out so that we have more time.
Yep. No,
And
and
the
it's-
citizens are covered.
And it's a good thought. It's a good thought.
So in regards to the contract, are you suggesting that the current agreement is going to end and that a separate standalone document, a new one, basically outlining the same services and rates, but with it just a 30-day period as an independent contractor for a 30-day period?
So I've not read that contract in a while, but I believe there's a couple of clauses in there that don't give rise to a short-term agreement.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I use the term evergreen. I don't think it's quite to that standard either. I think it's
If
not well written.
our relationship with him is not extended, and I don't think his contract was up for, we've signed multiple contracts with Bob and, he's been here 4+ years. And I think they were renewed every year or something like that with a different amount. And I think, I don't remember if there was a termination date or not, but my point is that, he gave us a proposed, the board wanted him to do enforcement work. This was back in September, I believe it was. Bob provided a new proposed agreement on October 26th that has never come before the board. It wasn't on the agenda in November or December or January or February. It's not on the agenda today. The board has not had an opportunity to review that agreement in a public meeting, in a transparent venue, and decide, all of a sudden it was just decided, oh, well, we're going to post the job. And so Bob, wanting some certainty to what was going to happen with his position, requested on, in the October 26th submission that the board deal with it. And in the case that the board hadn't dealt with it, that he would not be available past March 31st. So my question to the board members who have not pushed for getting this contract, proposed different contract from him in front of the board, is what do you plan to do on April 1st, with the calls and the people who walk in and want to see the zoning administrator and have their land use permits and their 3 sets of their plans and, you know, the phone calls. Who do you plan? Who's going to be handling that stuff? What are we to tell people who walk in with their plans, their documents, or call here? What's the backup plan on beginning April 1st for in the event there's no one in that position? What's the backup plan? What's the what are you going to do to what is going to be in place on April 1st so that the public who pay taxes here, and even some who come into this township who don't pay taxes here, but maybe gonna be paying taxes here, what is your plan to address the services that they are looking for?
My short answer is
I was gonna say, I thought we were.
the same plan we have for the fire department.
Well,
That's
there's
what
a
I
lot,
thought you were
there's
doing.
people looking for the zoning administrator way more than they're looking for the fire department.
And I'll guarantee
And
you
my
they're
plan
look-
is the motion I just made that would give us that stopgap if case nothing is settled by the end of March.
Which is
It's
what I thought you
it's
were
the
doing.
simplest thing to do. It is not a complicated endeavor here. If we decide here today that this is what we want to do, we put it in this motion, we present it to Bob. Bob has already said if the board reaches out with this request that he's willing to do it. This is not a difficult thing that we need to spend another 45 minutes on.
The only question I think that's been raised is whether or not the current arrangement with him, the current document with him allows for that month to month. That's the only thing I'm questioning.
But here's the thing, even though it doesn't say like what a rental agreement would say, if you go past this, it's a month to month. Even though it doesn't say that, Ron has already pointed out, there is no end date. So there really isn't, that end date was something imposed by him that he's saying he is willing.
He's
to
willing
extend
to
out.
he's willing to have the conversation. That's what he told the PC.
And this is the
Apparently-
conversation.
Okay.
I mean,
The zoning
It sounds
adminis-
like, I haven't talked to Bob, but it sounds like, Della, that you're saying he's willing to continue in the role of zoning administrator, everything else the same, everything the same, no changes. He's willing to continue in that role until there is either until there's a permanent zoning administrator.
solution,
Right.
whether it's him or somebody
On a
else.
month-to-month basis.
Yeah. And
he's willing to have the conversation, so she has more
I've-
recent. if
yeah,
it's past
exactly.
Wednesday. I don't know, when did you have the conversation? Yesterday?
this morning,
This morning, there you
so
go.
I think, you know, that's pretty new.
Did you ever actually finish your motion? I think you did. And I think you had it, add motion to extend the current ZA contract on a month-to-month basis.
To a month to month until the ZA position is decided.
I might suggest, we're interviewing over the course of next week. And just making a decision, and depending which direction, is it maybe better, instead of saying the month to month, we just quantify and say it's April 30th. And if we look like we're gonna go past April 30th, then we amend it again and go to May 31st.
That's just a bunch of more work for the
That's a good
board.
idea.
I mean, honestly, the motion says when it's going to end until the
doesn't.
ZA position is decided. If you offer the ZA position to someone else and they say, yes, I can take it, but for instance, I'm not available. I have current employment that I need to give them 2 weeks notice or whatever. And they're not available till May 15th or something like that. I don't know. I'm just picking a date. I don't want to have to come back here every month and have this on an agenda.
Is
It
there a
might
way you
only
could
be
give it
1 month. It
60
might not
days?
be any months.
Right.
We don't
Can you give
know.
it 60 days?
I'm
or
just
with a
trying to get,
termination before that?
I mean, it's March 12th today. And what are the zoning services that are gonna be available on April 1st? I think the public deserves to have someone doing zoning services for Whitewater Township. And also, you have to remember, it's not just the public. The planning commission has got this master plan rewrite going on. Randy is doing the zoning ordinance project. They've got those couple things going on, and I know that, you know, they do talk to Bob every once in a while. So it's not just the public that you're leaving hanging after March 31st. You're leaving the planning commission. And what if there's some ZBA cases that come up? I mean, you're leaving the planning commission, the planner, and the ZBA
Okay.
hanging.
Is there a way we can address this contract so it goes, say, 90 days unless can't even think of the word, dismissing it or
you know what?
ending it comes before that? Because that's doing the same thing she basically wants to do. So you really have you have an end date of 90 days,
I'm
but
just
you're able to
advocating
go
for
backwards
stop
if you need
line
it.
for dates, that's all.
I think this needs to be put in, I know I'm the one that made the motion, but I think what needs to be added to it is that we put this proposal together and give it to him, and if he agrees, he signs it. I think
It
that
makes me more comfortable.
that is probably a better way forward, other than us just saying, okay, we agree here today, and Bob's just gonna accept it. No, I think so I'm withdrawing my motion. Again, this is something that I thought would be a simple item. That is something that is common sense that needs to be handled in a timely fashion, and
But
Instead, it will be chaos.
but what
It will be chaos.
complicates it is the agreement itself, Bardella. And so terms of the agreement will begin on this date of the agreement and will remain in full force and effect until the completion of the services, subject to the renewal upon agreement of the parties or earlier termination as provided in this agreement. The term of this agreement may be extended with written consent of the parties
There you go.
for termination. So to terminate the agreement, okay? In the event either party wishes to terminate this agreement prior to the completion of services, when will the completion of zoning services be in a township? The answer
Never.
is never. That is correct. So the services are never over. We always need those services. So the parties agree for convenience. In the event either party wishes to terminate this agreement prior to the completion of the services, that party will be required to provide 60 days written notice to the other party. Okay, so we could do that. For cause upon any breach of this agreement. So if we're willing to activate the termination clause, 5A, which is for convenience, then we're going to give him a 60-day notice.
Okay, but I think he's already done that. And it says either party can do it. Like I said, I think we're making this a whole lot more complicated than it needs to be. We're requesting our zoning administrator to give us another month. And I don't see why everything you read in there, I'm not seeing any problems with extending it because it says agreed upon
I'm
by
s-
parties.
I'm just saying, define the date. And
Yep, and so it's gotta be 60 days. And so I don't think that's too much of an ask. So if we, if we update this agreement, then we should potentially get a 60-day notice out to them at the same time. That would be the proper way according to the agreement we are under. Because we've not accepted his new agreement yet. But it would be the proper way to dispatch of this agreement,
then that would push it back to May 31st.
which provides more time.
Well, I've already withdrawn my motion, so
I didn't withdraw my, did I second that?
It doesn't matter, Heidi. She withdrew her motion. You've seconded nothing.
Can't have a vote without a second, can you?
Nope, can't make this crap up. Ardell had a really good idea.
So I like the concept of the idea, but nobody likes to get a termination letter, right?
and there again, Ron, I'm not seeing where it needs to be done.
No, me either.
I mean,
Okay,
because he has already told us and given us more than 60 days. What, he gave this to us, what, October?
October
November?
26th.
Yeah, so.
We've had
we've-
over 5 months.
So it's not like we're gonna hurt his feelings by giving him a termination letter. He already gave us one. Technically.
Okay, so technically, if you already gave us a termination letter and we're extending it, you don't want to put a date on it?
I don't care about putting a date on it. I care about putting a small document together saying that we want to extend the services, if you are willing, to whatever date it is. And him agree on it, we agree on it, and then now we're covered. Because I've been through a lot of interviews for this township. I've sat through a lot of them, and there are sometimes the candidates that come through, and I've not seen these resumes, so I'm not speaking to any resume that you've gotten. But you wonder why they even applied for the job, because they have none of the skills required. But you have to go through the interviews. Well, what happens if we have nobody that this township really wants? We're gonna have to go back out for more candidates? We need additional time, is all I'm saying, and that's all I wanted. That's why I brought it forward. If somebody's got a better motion,
well, I would support your original motion.
So would I. Just with the end date.
If we include the termination section under 5A. And that's a 60-day notice. So I would be happy to support that motion. And then I think that puts a time limit on it for you.
That satisfies me.
So I believe what I wrote down was your wording was add motion to extend the current ZA contract month to month. What I might recommend is we extend the current ZA contract and provide termination notice under 5A. It's a little confusing why you would extend a contract
Okay.
and then automatically provide the termination letter, right?
Okay, so then if you're going to do that, then what's the point of the interviews next week? Because if you extend the contract, you can't hire anybody before May 31st.
That's not true.
That's not true.
That's
That's
definitely
not-
not
what
true.
I-
That's not
what I,
true.
the way I read it.
No, not the true. You can offer them the job and you can set the effective date either before, so they're working together on trade or passing after. Absolutely
You
not.
can either have a work relationship or you
Yes.
can't. That's your two options.
Well,
What
the
is on
board
the
has
job
brought
training?
all of this on, you've brought all of this on the township board, this chaos that we've just been engaging here for the last, what, half hour or
You're the only
whatever.
one that's
All
chaotic,
of
Cheryl.
this, oh,
Or
please.
chaos.
Captain
Yeah.
Chaos over here. You've brought this on, down on the township board by ignoring you know, you wanted something, some hours.
Are we gonna have some
Bob,
useful
excuse me,
conversation
do you
here, or
mind
are
not
you
re-
just gonna
would
rant
you
like
mind
you
not-
normally do?
Oh, please
Can we
stop.
just
You-
call for a vote on this?
No, I'm telling, no,
You know,
I'm
if we could
gonna
explain
have
it
my
to you,
piece.
If we had enough time to explain it to you, we
I'm-
would,
No,
but we
please
don't.
stop insulting me, okay? You're just rude. You are
tried-
the rudest person on the planet. I
Not
am
really. We
telling
tried to
you,
tell you 4
you
times
have
here.
brought this on the township board, this chaos. You brought it on the township board because you have refused to bring Bob's proposed contract
Shouldn't have
that
taken your
you've
motion
had
off. We could have
for
voted.
5 months. You refused to bring that up for a vote. You didn't want to
Point
deal
of
with it. You
order.
said, oh,
Let's
I'm
do
not gonna
something
vote for
here.
it. Heidi, would you please stop interrupting me? I didn't
Actually,
interrupt
you're
you.
the interruption.
No,
here.
I'm not.
So I am going to call for a
No,
point of
I'm
order,
telling
or have
you-
you removed.
I'm not gonna be removed, pal.
Yeah,
Okay? You
Anyway.
should leave. I'm telling
Well,
you
we have
that
to have a
you
badged
brought this
officer to do
chaos
that.
on the township board with your
Ardella,
failure
if
to
you would
deal
like
with
to
Bob's proposed contract,
work on a
which you
motion,
asked him
I
to
would
provide
encourage it.
more hours for enforcement. He did, and you've ignored it.
So we're gonna unplug Clerk Goss's mic.
Go ahead. I can speak real loud.
If it was a coherent.
We don't have a
vote,
motion on the floor, are we?
That would be
What's the business
interesting.
here? What's the business? What's the business item? Is there one?
So
There's no
Ardella,
motion on the floor.
I would be interested in revamping your original motion. If we could just remove the month to month, because it would be counterproductive to the agreement that's currently in place.
Gotta have an end or a termination.
And then,
I have no idea how to word that, Ron. I mean, if you do, I do not need to be the author of this motion.
okay, so I'm asking for your help on it, right? And so really, if we want to lay this out correctly, motion to extend the ZA contract. That gets the basis covered, right? And then think about pending ZA interviews, successful ZA interviews, whatever. A termination of this contract would be sent. Because Bob's got a new contract out there, right? So if we sign this one, we got to terminate it anyway. I mean, I'm
So
sorry.
you're
if-
working off the one we signed.
Yes.
Okay.
And Ardella's asking to extend the one we signed,
Correct.
which I think is a good idea.
Okay, I got you so far.
So pending a successful ZA interview process, could be Bob, right? Then this contract that we're extending gets a termination notice. And then Bob's new contract is put in place. So I think your motion to extend the current ZA contract,
Is this a motion you're making?
nope,
We're just talking it
We're
out.
talking it out,
Being
Cheryl.
crafted.
pending successful ZA interviews, a termination notice under, did I say 5A?
Yeah.
Is that what I said?
Yep.
Under 5A, so this is termination for convenience. Oop, 5A will be provided. So what I have right now is motion to extend the current ZA contract pending successful ZA interviews, a termination notice under provision 5A will be provided. I
It only
think,
covers the time issue if we rehire Bob, does it not?
I'm sorry, say that,
No,
ask
it
that
would-
again.
It would basically say the ZA's on board for another 60 days at
His current rate.
his current rate. It basically takes the March 31st to May 31st Stardella.
Okay.
And we may not have a successful. In other words, we may not agree to Bob's new contract. That's the danger here. But he also can terminate for convenience. So if he
Right.
chooses, you know, if he thinks we're dragging our feet or whatever the case might be, then he can terminate with 60 days notice. I just didn't like providing somebody with a termination notice, right? That was my hangup.
It's a contract.
Okay, then
like
I,
who
the
signs?
other wording that I would like to change where we said extend the current, it should be extend the offer. Because what we're doing is we're making this offer to him and he has to accept. So if we put this in the motion, then that shows him that that's what we are offering. Use, the word's got to be in there somewhere.
Okay. So again, going back to the current agreement. The terms of this agreement may be extended with consent of the parties. So this agreement would be provided to Bob in blank format. The one that we're currently under. We would just white out the signatures that are there, and this agreement in its entirety would be provided to him, no changes. And so if the township board approves it, see, I think I signed this. Yep, I signed it and Bob signed it. So the two parties then would agree. So, yep, I think making sure he's acceptable to that offer is important.
Right.
Yep. And again, the only hang up I've got is I just don't like to give people a termination notice. So what I have is motion to extend the current ZA contract pending successful ZA interviews. A termination notice under provision 5A will be provided. So if Bob is the successful candidate, we terminate this old agreement and then move to his new one.
But we wouldn't automatically sign it. We'd have a discussion and all that good stuff, right? Yes.
And so if Bob is not the successful candidate and we choose somebody else, then there's the responsibility of the township to send him a 60-day notice.
Under 5A, we provided the proper notice.
Under 5A, we've provided the proper notice.
I get it.
I don't see how we're not protecting everybody's interests here. I think it's a win for both sides.
Did you make that motion?
No, I'm still wordsmithing it with you. Would you like a copy of the contract so you could read what I read?
No,
Okay.
thank you for the offer. though.
Mhm.
I still would like to put the word offer in front of extend. Offer to extend. I think it's important for
Okay.
Bob to know that we are offering this.
Motion to offer an extension?
Yep.
Is that how
Or
you?
to offer to extend. That way, offer to
Offer.
is the only thing that needs to be added.
Motion. So I might have some different typing here than you do. I currently have motion to extend the current. Motion,
What I have is, this is what I thought I heard you say. Offer to, well, I added the to extend. Offer to extend the current ZA contract pending successful ZA interviews. A termination notice under 5A, and I've got in parentheses, termination of convenience will be provided.
okay, so, and I see how you constructed the motion.
She took the word motion.
She
out,
took the
which
word
would
motion out.
change the-
And the motion is offer to extend the current ZA.
Yeah.
Okay. If
That's
you,
Okay with that.
if you want to make that motion, I'll support it.
Okay.
So, do you want to read it off or do you want me to read it off?
I got it. Cheryl, are you ready?
Sure.
Motion to offer to extend the current ZA contract pending successful ZA interviews. A termination notice under 5A,
Provision 5A.
provision 5A, termination of convenience will be provided.
Seconded. Additional discussion? Roll call when ready.
What's gonna happen if it's determined? As I understand it, we have 4 candidates to interview. Are we done accepting applications or no?
I suppose anybody could, the
Give one in
original
at any
motion to
time.
post did not have a deadline, which was a mistake. So I suppose if somebody zoomed an application.
Okay, so right now we have 4 interviews to do.
Bob being one of them.
Right, I get it.
Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Balmuth,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes. Tabled items, I see none. Board comments and discussions. I see anyone in the public hall wishing to make a comment? Anyone out in Zoom, please use the raise your hand function and we'll call on you when we get to you.
Are you going to Zoom?
Yeah, are there people's hands up?
Her hand was up, now it's down. You might want to ask Lois if she wants to speak. Lois's hand is up. You can ask her to speak.
Okay, Lois?
Yes. I think it's really smart to I think it's really smart to be doing the zoning administrator extension. Thank you very much. Our public deserves it, and so does our planning commission. On the item 4, in the discussion of, I'll get my words straight here. Oh, on the golf course thing, there was a question about Bates Road being an entrance. Bates Road will be an entrance for maintenance, for the maintenance building and that type of thing. Arnold Road will be blocked when the DNR is done. And Moore Road will be the main entrance, and they plan to monitor that as mentioned in the stipulation of the thing. I know that was mentioned, and it sounded like it came across that Bates Road was going to be closed, and that's not the case. It's Arnold Road. And long meeting, but you guys did well getting through things. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom wishing to make a comment?
We have no other hands.
Okay, then a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at what time is it? 54 or 12:54. That gives you an extra minute to go around for the vote.
I'll second. Roll call when ready. I'm sorry, any further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Falmouth,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes. And I still have it at 12:53. Motion approved.
I can change that to 12:53. I'm gonna let you hit this to the cloud.
Good job.
All right, so
So, yeah, so we would stop recording.
and then yes.